Okay, we should be live.
Okay, let's see if we got it here. All right, good. So let me get on the page where I can see if where are we at in your channel here? I don't see us. How come?
Should be there.
Here we are. Okay, let me get in here so I can see who's in the chat room and mute this one if it'll come up. All right, so there we go. Okay, so we got. Okay, I see where you've already been communicating. All right, so today's topic, which was laying on my mind here in the past couple of weeks, having a lot of time to think, kind of focuses on the difference between linear and nonlinear thinking, and the or what some people would call vertical and lateral thinking, and the processes that go on with each one and the drawbacks of being stuck in one of the two thought patterns and going through life with such. So, I mean, there's a lot of controversy about this when people get to talking about it in academia, which basically is flinging insults along. If somebody calls you a linear thinker, they're using it as an insult, and especially in educational systems where they want you to be the more free spirit, the artistic type, the think outside the box, do what you will, have nothing really go according to a plan or to a process to bring you to a conclusion without causing a complete different set of, in other words, you're constantly deviating from your goal and trying to figure out a better way, a different way, or whatever with the nonlinear or lateral thinking, which creates a chaos, in my opinion. And of course, from my standpoint, having been a mechanic and a machinist and everything else, where you have to utilize linear thinking. In other words, I can't use lateral thinking when putting an engine together. There's a certain routine that you have to go through. You have to adhere to it. It has to be concentrated effort of well, not only a concentrated effort, but it can't be deviated from.
Right.
It's based on logic, rules, rationality, and then you achieve your end goal. That would be linear thinking.
So it's like procedural. You've got this set order, things are done in. You go from start to finish, and you know when you begin, as long as you follow every step of the way, don't miss anything or cut corners, you will reach the goal you are trying to achieve.
Right, but you have to you have to follow a certain set of preset rules.
Right.
That you have to follow. Now, look, I've never been one to believe that either way of thinking predominantly is an advantage. You have to utilize both trains of thought.
Yeah.
You do have to think outside of the box. Okay, going back to my field, because I'm better versed in that, is if I have a drivability issue on a vehicle, let's say, or some kind of a diagnostic routine that I have to go through, I have to now think outside of the box. I can't use linear thinking on it, which is what they're basically. This is what educational systems and even in the trades that they're trying to show you with flow charts. They want you to follow a flow chart, which is linear. You know, did you open the hood? Yes or no? Yes, go to this block. No,
Right.
go to this block. I mean, this is a linear way of thinking, right?
So they don't consider, like, you might come up against something. There's a new part or product. It needs to go under the hood of the car somewhere, but there's no way to mount it. And you know, unless you can be a non-linear thinker and figure out a way to make a mounting bracket and attach it so it doesn't get in the way, overcome problems. That's what I'm trying to say.
Correct. Yeah, and that would be lateral thinking. You know, of course, think outside of the box. So there comes a time when you have to do it in a linear fashion. You have to utilize your mind, which is to concentrate and focus on what you're doing and what you're trying to achieve. Some people have said that, well, that's taking the easy way out. No, it's not taking the easy way out. It's following a set of logical rules of something that has been proven to work, and there is no other way to do it. In other words, you can't put the engine together without the pistons inside and then put them in later on.
Right.
You
like
know,
a million people have been there before you. It's basic knowledge. It's proven, tested.
Right.
If it ain't broke, don't try and fix it.
You know, when you take something like, okay, back to the cars again, or even motorcycles, you know, if I see an old rotten, you know, a bunch of pile of parts or whatever, I can envision in my mind what I want to make out of this, what I want it to look like, what I want. There comes the abstract thinking,
Right.
the nonlinear thinking, and the artistic end of it. But then once you've done that in your mind, you have to go back to the linear thinking to accomplish that.
Yeah. So we get it in construction. I mean, you've seen some. I've sent you some pictures of some work I've done, and I know the same process. Someone says, "Oh, can you do that? Make that wall look like that?" And I've already visualized it. I know how it's going to be, and then I go, right, how do I do this? You know, how did I do this last time, or how did I see someone else do this? And that's the linear method. That's the, you know, right. What is the given and tried and tested best method of doing this? Okay, well, let's do that then. We need this, this, and this. We need those tools, those materials. Don't buy anything you've never used before. Don't try and use any crazy tools that, you know, just if you want to get it done and be sure of a good outcome, stick to what you know. That's how it's done. And then any little problems along the way, you know, it's like, okay, we might have to make a plan. But yeah, I see what you're saying. It's so in relation to education and like teaching of trades and stuff like that, are they trying to push a more creative, non-linear way, do you think, or is it the other way around?
Well, I think what they're trying to do is create a conceptual chaos by not adhering to certain protocols or rules that are necessary. In other words, feel free to do what you want. You know, just I mean, look, language is linear, or at least the English language is, and German is too. But you know, you can't just spit out words willy-nilly and have people understand what the hell you're trying to convey. Okay, you have to have a linear way of talking to convey your information. What they're trying to do in education, or with young minds anyway, is telling them to just, you know, go with your feelings, go and create this chaos direction that you're going to go. You know, don't follow the principles that are well established, and go outside of the box and be an artist. It's like, look, let's take an artist, for example. All right. Somebody that draws a human body, you know, or paints it, right? They've taken training in how to do the human body, how to draw hands, how to draw facial features and everything else. That's a linear procedure.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the artist that takes a bunch of paintbrushes, dips them in the paint cans, and then goes and flings them up against a canvas, that's non-linear thinking.
Yeah.
It's creating chaos, okay? And then calling it art. No, you haven't put any thought in it. You haven't had any training. You haven't, but you're proud of it. And people are dumb enough to say, "Oh, wow, that's fantastic," and they try to put a meaning to it.
Yeah. Like
But
Jackson Pollock. Have you seen Jackson Pollock? It's like he's just flicks paint on a canvas in layers and builds up this. Well, it's just something a 5-year-old can do. But people look at it and they say, "Oh, but look at the depth and look at the tone and look at that." And I think, I'm not seeing that. I'm just seeing. I'm not seeing anything. Yeah, I'm not seeing art. I don't know. I don't get it. Yeah, is it bullshit? Is it just people, breaking the rules and saying, "Look what I've done. I've done something clever, something inspirational, something groundbreaking," and not realizing that they just haven't done anything, and they're the only one that can see it.
I think it's the inability of the mind to go from one train of thought to the other, and when to utilize which one, which is, to me, that's the lazy part of it. And overusing the nonlinear way of thinking as a, let's say, protocol to your life, or this is the blueprint for my life, is to think laterally or artistically or nonlinear.
Yeah,
I think that drives more people into trouble, and then they don't understand why things didn't work out. And look, you mentioned Pollock, he's 1 in a billion that might be able to get away with that. Everybody else that's pouring paint in the middle of a canvas and then spinning it real quick to make the paint fling out and calling it society's ills as seen from the gutter, and I mean, really, you're not making a statement here. You're showing that you're an idiot and you've put nothing into it. You've put no thought into it other than how to bullshit your way through it. And you're not going to make it big. It's like the old saying it's not who you know, it's who you blow. And I think that goes along with a nonlinear.
See, I was going to say, when you said it's like a lazy mindset. Now, I've seen that work against people because they refuse to work in a linear fashion. They refuse to be methodical and do things which, people have said, no, this is the way we do it. Why do we do it like that? Well, it saves time. It's easier. It's more methodical. It's more systematic. And at the end of the day, when you look at how much easier you've made your life, then you expend less energy. And I've seen people who are slightly lazier in their mindset, and they say, "Oh no, fuck that," "Oh, just leave that delivery there, fuck it," And it's like, no, we always put them next to where we're working, so that when we are working, they're to hand. And they'll go, "Oh, what's the point?" And they'll leave stuff miles away. And then the next thing you know, someone will park a vehicle in between you and the stuff you want to use, and you can't get to it. And you say, now, by being that little bit more lazy, you've made your day infinitely harder. And everyone around them as well. I noticed those lazy-minded people who wouldn't work in a linear fashion. They were more chaotic by nature. They were messy. I always had to go behind them, picking up or tripping over stuff that shouldn't be where they left it. And I used to look at them and think, if your intention was to make life easier by being lazy and using less effort, it hasn't worked, because everything now is difficult because you've been involved. And there was nothing intelligent about anything they did. the way they thought, the way they acted. And they weren't even being creative. That's the thing. They applied no linear or non-linear thinking to any of their activities. It was just like, fuck it, you know. Those people, I think they would benefit from going back to basics, listening to people who knew what they were talking about, you know, and just saying to them, this is the way it's done.
Right, right. Yeah, you know, I've heard a lot of academics, and this is what kind of brought this up, because I've been accused, or was accused, you know, a long time ago when I was building this one couple's motorcycle. I was doing the engine for him, and I was trying to explain things. And at the time, his wife, she was going to college for, you know, another degree or whatever. And she was in her late 30s, I guess, so not a kid, you know. And she came up with it. She, you know, like, you're just a linear thinker, aren't you? And I said, yeah, I have to be. You know, I didn't take it as an insult, but she meant it as an insult.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked her, you know, at the time, and she says, well, that's the lazy way to go and do things. No, not at all. How can you call it lazy? You're following a logical procession of how to do things properly. And the end result should then show that what you've done was done the correct way. Okay? Not meaning that you don't think outside the box occasionally during that linear process, but it keeps, and you know, for the most part, I think adults, you know, older adults that have been around the block a few times, do think linear, probably 90% of the time, you know, because it does bring the results to a better outcome, more predictable outcome. Whereas a nonlinear thinking, your outcome is not predictable at all. It's a crapshoot.
The linear thing can be like an automatic pilot as well. Like once you've got your basics down, once you've got your you know what tools you can do it without thinking. So like if I plaster a wall, you know, I don't need to. It's enjoyable because there's no thought involved. Yes, I'm going through the procedures. Yes, I'm applying the adhesive before. If it's a dry wall, I'm mixing it up to the right consistency. I'm putting on the right amount of coats and you know, reinforcing tape where it needs to be put. Everything is done, but without thought, because you've done it a million times over. You don't need to double think anything. You don't need to say, oh, wait a minute, is this gonna work? Is this gonna all fall off or crack? You're like, no, I know what the outcome's going to be. People, even if people around you start panicking and saying, oh, is it going to be all right? You know, is it? And you're just like, step aside, you know, you'll see when it's done. And you already know. And it's that you know, where you sort of visualize it before you begin. You know, if you know, when you've followed the proper procedures because you've done it a million times over, it will be right. It will be done right. But the fact that you can do that without thinking means you can listen to the radio, or you can think, oh, you know, what emails do I have to send later? Or your mind can be elsewhere, and you can do that. They call it highway hypnosis in psychology, where you've done the thing so many times that you do it without thinking. And it's that thing where you drive somewhere and you didn't mean to drive there. Like you'll find yourself going to the store or something, and you think, what the fuck am I doing? It's because you've done it so many times and your mind was elsewhere. Your motions go into automatic pilot, and the next thing you know, your body has completed a task without your mind engaging. And I like that. I like that linear way of thinking, or linear way of completing a task.
Right.
Because they don't have to think about it.
Well, not only that, but you know, once you've mastered the whatever it is you're doing. And Felix and I were talking about this morning, where you build a muscle memory of like using something like a screwdriver underneath something where you can't even see what you're doing, but you can feel it. And once it hits right, and your hand starts to turn it and everything else, and you're feeling it, you've got this muscle memory going on.
Yeah.
That because you've done it so many times that you can do that. Now, have somebody that's never done that before and have them give it a try, and they'll go into the nonlinear, the abstract way of thinking.
Oh yeah,
Well,
they'll
if
try
I
and use
do
the other
this, or
end.
I'll do it
Yeah.
that way, or, give me a different kind of, this, that, and the other. And this is where they get in trouble.
Right.
And this is why I said, the fact that between these two schools of thought, which are really intertwined heavily, you can't just be one way. It's not possible. You would have to be
Yeah.
a robot to be linear all the time. But and that holds true for everything in life. And you can look. You can even look at this through a relationship lens. You know, if a woman starts to hate you in a relationship, or if you're married to her, or whatever, and she starts planning for the divorce, is she now linear thinking or non-linear? you know, when you look at that kind of thing, um, you can classify it as either one.
I think they get pretty creative when there's money involved.
Yeah. But it is a linear way of going about it. What do I need to do first? Do I need to talk to a lawyer?
Yeah.
Do I need to accuse him of something he didn't do? Do I need to, so you're starting a linear process. And
Yeah.
throughout that process, maybe you will deviate into that lateral thinking to overcome a hurdle, which brings us back to doing a trade or anything else that you're doing. So the one thing fits all accusation, to me, has always intrigued me, because you've got like two sides, like you've got your atheist and you've got your religious person, and they're arguing. And that's always come into play with this. This is why you don't hear much about it or see much about this topic in itself. And basically, that's why I wanted to kind of discuss it and hit on it. And, I wish we had more people in here to kind of give a opinion on it. But, yeah, it's a deep subject, and it does go off into the weeds a little bit. But I
I've
just
got
thought it was interesting.
some ideas about how or why a person not be able to they may not be able to be a linear thinker, and it's to do with something we call schemas in psychology. You have a schema is when you can imagine a scenario. So say you're going to McDonald's, you know where it is, you can imagine what the drive-through looks like, or the restaurant or whatever. You say, oh, I'm going to get a fucking Big Mac or a chicken sandwich or whatever, and in your mind, before you get there, you've played it out like a movie. That's a schema. You know what you're going to do. And with the screwdriver, where you can't see the screw but you can feel it, in your mind you picture the flat head of the screwdriver, locating itself in the screw, or if it's a Phillips or crosshead, you say, oh, I can feel it. Yeah, now that I know that's where it should be, and if I just turn it anti-clockwise, I can undo it. In your mind, you're seeing in your mind's eye the tip of the screwdriver, the screw moving. You hear that little crack as you just turn it for the first quarter turn, and you think, yep, that's fine now, I can loosen it off. People who've never done it before, they'll be like, well, I can't tell if the screwdriver's in the screw head. What was that crack noise? Have I snapped it? I think the ability to visualize what's going on or what the outcome might be depends on experience. And if they haven't got that experience, if they've never heard it or seen it before. The whole thing's new to them, so it needs to be explained. Look, this is how it works, you know. And if you don't do that, that could happen. It could go wrong, you know. And if they don't listen, it will go wrong, and they'll go, "Oh, now I've
Right.
seen it. I
See,
know."
this is where the lazy thinking comes in.
Mm.
That people won't take the time. A lot of people won't take the time to consider which way they should be thinking with a certain point. They dogmatically go after, you know, just one way, and then when things don't work out, they blame everything or everybody else, you know, because it didn't work out, because they were lazy in their thought patterns.
Or they didn't listen.
Or they didn't listen, which is, again, laziness, you know, or just stubbornness, if you want to call it that too. You know,
I see that now.
Being stubborn.
The ego in play when someone comes along and, you know, like, you might want to do that, or you might not want to do that. And it's just like, you know, I'm offering advice just because I can see, I don't want to say you're going to fuck it up, but I can see potentially this might not go right for you. And here's the way that lots of people do it, you know, not telling you what to do, but you might want to consider doing it that way. And they're like, oh, don't fucking tell me what to do. You know, I'll make my own decision. And you're like, fine. And they go off. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've got that so many times in the past where we say to people, look, there's a reason why we say these things. We're not telling you how to live your life. We're just saying, be careful. You know, that might not turn out the way you would like it to.
Right. You're not following the procedure that has been proven to be correct.
Yeah.
You know,
correct and effective. Yeah.
But I can do it better mentality, you know, and then again, this is all, I guess it does figure into the ego quite a bit, you know, that once you've been told, why keep going back? You know, and I guess that leads us into a lot of other type of you know, issues as well, because you know, hey, look, for years we've been telling certain people about things and warning people, and yet we see a lot of them go back into doing the same stupid thing as before, because they try to think laterally and say, well, if I do it this way this time, I'll have a better outcome. You know, that this is, it kind of leads into that, and I really don't want to go into that whole thing that we've been over for years, way back when, you know.
Because a lot of the people, I don't want to go into it either, but they say, well, I've been listening to so-and-so, or so-and-so said this, and you think, where did so-and-so get their information from? You know, has that person got experience of it, or are they just talking about it because they heard it on a YouTube video? Right. And you say, oh, well, so-and-so said this, and I've been listening to, you know, this channel and that channel, so I'm okay now. I'm bulletproof. I can go back out there and take on the world. And you're like, you might want to consider this. And they say, oh, don't tell me how to live my life. And you're like, fine. Whatever.
I mean, you know, the people listening to this, they'll that know us will know what we're talking about. And for the people that don't, we don't really have to expand on that. You know, it really has gotten old and worn out. You know, I think a lot of information out there is very abstract thinking, and a lot of, you know, you haven't thought it through. And I think a lot of this needs to go back into the linear thinking reality, but I don't have much hope for that. So, you know, I just thought it was a good topic, you know, that kind of intrigued me.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely one that gets you thinking, you know, and when you are thinking, I'll be more aware of it now, because I'll be thinking, you know, am I following, is there a better way to do this or go about this that I already know? You know, why am I trying to deviate from the things I know that work? You know, why, you know, do we forget things as well as we get older? Do we say, oh, hang on a minute, we used to do it like this, and we always did it that way. You know, why don't I just do it the way I already know instead of fucking around and, you know.
Well, we got, Ghost Saints here says, honestly, linear thinking stalemates innovation to some degree. Yes, to some degree. But in order to innovate something, you still have to start somewhere and continue on somewhere and follow a certain logical set of predetermined rules. Okay. In other words, if you're going to be an engineer and design, a building, and you say, well, I'm going to make the columns out of paper mache. Okay. Well, that's nonlinear thinking, sure, but maybe, like I said, the two need to be, in their proper perspective. They need to be utilized. So,
I mean, what Ghost Saints said at first, linear thinking stalemates innovation. It does, to a degree, if you were 100% linear thinking. But it's like necessity is the mother of invention. If there's a problem that needs to be solved and you come across it, there's the time to say, okay, here's the chance to make something new, to try a new technique. It might fail. And indeed, experimentation is how we learn and how we progress.
Yep.
So certain things, when I grow certain things, if something's been done wrong and I've mixed up the wrong substrate, or I've used something wrong, or put it in the wrong container, I say, oh fuck, I fucked that up. But I don't throw it away. I say, well, let's put it to one side and see what happens. We'll keep that one as an experiment, not even a control. It's like a freak experiment that may, something good may happen. It may fail, but I will never know unless I just put it to one side and observe it and say, wrong ingredients might make something different, better, whatever. But I will never know until I think outside. And then I go back to proper procedure and say, right, now if I want the result that I intended to get at the start, I need to follow the thing I know that works. And yeah, definitely there are different techniques. I mean, I don't want to oversimplify it in terms of like a boxing match, but Ghost Saint says again, if you have a great jab, can you jab the entire fight? I mean, obviously not. There are different tools. There are different techniques. There are different methods. People who specialize in different things. If you come across a problem and you say, this isn't my area of expertise, I need to give so-and-so a call. They come in, they get it done. And, you pull in tools, techniques, and expertise from all over the place. So, yeah, certainly.
Well, see, there's it kind of proves to a degree what I was trying to get at here is that people tend to take a side, either linear or nonlinear. And where the strong points lie is in utilizing both when necessary, and knowing how to, if he wants to use a fighting analogy, how to bob and weave, how to avoid the punch, how to, and when to come in and when not to. So, and that's based on a set of rules as well, but also abstract thinking, or thinking on your feet, if you will, outside the box. So this is where a lot of people get stuck in the one way of thinking, of either linear or nonlinear, that's where the problem lies. Is that people don't know how to combine them and when to combine them, or when to go from one to the other. There's a time and place for everything, and it holds true for the type of thinking that you do at any given time.
Which goes back to the way I was thinking before, it's like I don't do a great deal of work anymore, but I've got a couple of days I've got to do next week. And then I can apply this awareness before I even adopt a linear or non-linear approach to the task, I would say, right, which aspects of this require linear, tried and tested methods. Okay, well, we know that's going to be that. Okay, well, and then I can play with the concepts, and I can sort of think, right now, and when you become aware of it, it's useful then, because you can sort of see how much of your time is spent. Are you predominantly linear in your thinking, or are you more creative or non-linear? Are you more of a rule breaker? It might answer some questions, as to why certain things go right or wrong in your life. You might say, oh yeah, maybe I should have researched that before I tried to do that thing I've never done before.
Right,
maybe
and
I
that's
should
the
have.
point.
Yeah,
See,
exactly.
to properly use linear thinking, you have to have it right in your head. You have to know that, these are the steps, this is how it's going to go. If you say to yourself, okay, I'm going to do this in a linear method, but you're thinking of A, Z, B, D, well, now you're not thinking in a linear method, so it may not be working out for you. It's A, B, C, D, E, and onward, or 1, 2, 3, 4. That is your linear, proper linear, and you need to know each routine of that method that you're going to, which is more, controlled, more logical, more, how do you put it, intently done. But you
Yeah,
have to have the knowledge of how to do it that way. If you don't have the knowledge, well, then you can't do it linear. You'll be doing it abstractly, nonlinear, and not achieving the end goal that you want. This is where I'm saying that you got to know how to use it and when to use it. This is the whole thing. And I mean, we would in our own field know how to do that because we're in that field where we've been in it for so long that a lot of things come naturally. We know how things work and everything else. And of course, you have to be open to suggestion if anything new comes along or better.
yeah,
A better tool, if you will, or a better way to apply something or whatever. It should certainly get out of that linear way and then utilize that and then incorporate it into the linear fashion of
yeah,
doing the thing. And I'm not saying be totally what do you call it? Totally with blinders on, focused, and never hear or try anything else. That's not what I'm saying. It's the the combination
yeah.
and when and why and how to
It,
utilize each
it
one.
it needs to be like the non-linear stuff. If someone comes up with a new tool or a new method, I mean, we can't be blinkered or closed-minded to it. But if everybody tries it and it becomes tried and tested and approved, then it becomes part of the linear method.
Right, right.
It's like a friend of mine, when I used to train, he said, you can't just go making up new shit, bringing in new techniques. And people said, why not? This is just how I do it. And he said, well, if you go to the Japanese Karate Association with a new front kick, he says everybody has to try it, and everybody has to try and block it, and everybody has to sort of, decide whether or not it gets brought into the system, because it's been tried and tested. And then they say, okay, that's a recognized method. And the same with
Right.
when I'm plastering, someone said, oh, a plasterer older than me, faster than me, came in, and I said, what the fuck is that in your bucket? You've got a plastic trowel. What, do you want to borrow some money so you can get a proper steel one? He said, no. He said, have you not seen these? They're German. I said, oh. I said, let's have a go then. Oh, Jesus. It was like cheating. It was more flexible and less pressure on the wrist. And because I'm getting older, I thought, oh wow, I don't have to push so hard and push so much pressure on my joints. And And guess who bought a plastic trowel the next week? You know, I was like, you know, telling everyone, have you seen this? You know, this is the new tool we're all using. And you know, now I always have one, and I still have an old one as well.
Right.
But
So
it was
the
tried and
nonlinear just
tested.
became the linear.
Yeah. After it had been tried and tested, and a few people sort of said, well, I was a bit skeptical about that to begin with, but yeah, we should have been doing this like fucking 30 years ago. But yeah. So
Well.
yeah, to be applied to just more than just trades and work. And
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, into every aspect of life, whether it's you know, your private personal life, your you know, social life, your job, your you know, all of it applies to this uh, thoughtfulness, mindfulness, if you want to call it that. You know, to be aware of what you're doing, how you're doing it, and you know, why you're doing it, and to be aware of the two different paths that you can go by, alternating from one to the other and doing it freely. This is where I think real talent comes in, when you learn how to do that. But that's just my opinion, you know, and I'm not, look, I'm not a psychiatrist, psychologist, whatever, you know. So I look at everything subjectively and through my own lens, of course, you know. So,
I
but
dare
anyway,
say it's been looked at as probably in relation to age. You know, they'll say, you know, like young people. Why are young people more prone to self-harm in the form of recklessness? It's because they haven't learned, they haven't got the experience. You know, they're more impulsive and all these sorts of things. But it could just be a case of, you know, they haven't yet learned the potential outcomes of their actions, and when they do, they'll be able to create a linear sequence of events where they can say, oh, last time I did that, that didn't end well, so I won't even start that. I won't even start that sequence of events now. And then they begin to sort of apply that, you
I
know.
think we've all learned that in our youth. You know,
Yeah.
that didn't work out very well. I might
Yeah.
not want to do that again. It certainly has with me. You know,
Well,
there's
that's an interesting thought, though. That's a thought I had before we came online. I wondered if when in the past we gave advice and it wasn't taken, it was because people couldn't relate to it based on their life experiences. And the advice they took or chose to take was from people they could relate to. And it's basically they're saying, oh, well, I don't, you know, I don't think that's right. And you're sort of saying, well, I'm not debating whether it's right or not. What I'm saying is this is real and you need to be aware of it. And they say, but so-and-so said this. And the so-and-so they take their advice from is the person they can relate to most. So a young person will speak more to people of their age or into the same things they're into. And in that respect, that's where most of their information comes from. And when it's offered from someone they can't relate to, they either reject it or they don't understand it. It's like a different language. And you just sort of think, nah, you know, well, I'm wasting my time speaking to these people because just because of who I am, they won't listen. And it
right.
doesn't make sense to them. But
Well, you know, that meme of "Okay, Boomer," you know, which I thought was kind of hilarious because basically it was shutting down the conversation, and that they already know better, something that, well, to be honest, they don't. And
right,
the people that they can relate to in their own age group don't have any or much more experience than they do. So they're
yeah,
taking advice from people that are on their own level. It's something I learned a long, long time ago when I didn't take advice from the graybeards, if you want to call it that, the older men that have been around and you dismiss them and you know everything better. When that meme came out with okay, boomer, I never took it personally. It's like, well, okay, find out for yourself. I had to.
Yeah.
There weren't a lot of people. We didn't have the internet, so there wasn't a lot of advice coming out. And, you know, uh, certainly if we did have a social system even close to the internet way back then, I doubt a lot of the older guys would have been on it because they would have thought it was ridiculous. Why waste your time? Why waste your breath? Um, I think we put more effort into it nowadays in trying a little bit, but then the minute you get that shutdown attitude, that smart ass remark that just makes you say, okay, well, look, no skin off of my back.
Yeah.
Find out for yourself. It really doesn't affect my life at all. You're not living here. I don't pay for your crap. You don't pay for mine. And I'll probably never talk to you or see you again for the rest of my life. So have fun.
Yeah.
I gave you some information. And yeah, sure, times have changed, but people are still the same and their thought patterns are still the same.
Yeah.
With
And
all
I've
the
learned not
technology.
to. I was going to say I've learned not to take it personally, because it doesn't matter how we frame it, how we say it. Even if we swear at someone and saying, "Oh, what the fuck are you doing?" Are you fucking stupid? And they're like, "Well, maybe there's a better way to say it than that." But the way it's being said is irrelevant because the message you're trying to put across is, "Look, I'm trying to stop you from doing something. I'm trying to sort of say, this is not a good idea because I don't want to see it. I don't want to see you suffer the consequences." And a lot of people sort of, I don't know, I mean, in the past it was very sort of heated and I don't know, passionate. The message was passionate. And a lot of people were like, "Don't fucking tell me what to do, don't."
Right. Yeah.
And you think, well, I'm not trying to put obstacles in your way. I'm trying to help you out. I'm trying to show some compassion and sort of say, I hope bad things don't happen to you. But, now I just sort of say, oh, well, I've said what I've got to say. If you don't want to listen to me, don't. Like you say, it's no skin off my nose. It doesn't really affect my life.
Yeah, the bottom line too is that look, an intelligent person will say, "All right, I don't agree with this guy. I don't even like him. He looks like an idiot or whatever. He talks like one." But take whatever you want from it and utilize it. You don't have to take the whole concept or whatever is being put out to you, but there might be one bit of uh, you know golden information in there, just a piece of it that you can use. And if you dismiss it categorically, all of it, right from the beginning, you're not doing yourself any favors. Because, like you said, and I have, it doesn't matter to me. You know, if
Mm.
if you don't want to hear any of what I have to say, fine. Just piss off. I mean, fine. But that's not a smart person. Always wants to hear everything and then make your judgment, and what works for you in your life, because everything that works in my life is not going to work for everybody else out there. That's
Yeah.
obvious. I
Yeah.
mean, we all have different lifestyles, we all have different likes, dislikes, we all have different thought pattern, everything. um, so but there are still tidbits of information in there that are useful to
Mm.
somebody, and maybe not to a lot, but uh, um, you have to be open-minded enough to at least listen. You can't categorically just shut somebody down because, well, they fucked up here and they said this and I don't like that, But the next sentence they say may be something that well, that does make sense, and I
Yeah.
might think about that. So, this is why, I mean, I try to listen to certain people that aren't totally off the beam, and sometimes I just wait for them to have a meltdown, and I'm watching it happen, which is to me kind of interesting because I can see it coming, but I shut up about it. I let them go, Um, maybe I might have said something one time and then, no response or a kind of a shitty response. So it's like, okay, fine. But I continue to watch because occasionally they make a good point, but they're still on this self-destructive path. And
I wonder if we're doing people a disservice, because my train of thought now is one that I value ordeals. I value some suffering and pain. When it comes, I'm like, right, what's the lesson going to be? This is not going to be pleasant, but at the end of it, I'll be a little bit stronger or wiser or more knowledgeable. I'm not going to waste it by letting it beat me up and then just walk away and say, oh, please don't do that again. I'm like, right, why did that happen? And I wonder if by trying to help people avoid ordeals in life, the trials of life, whether we're limiting their full potential. Do you know what I mean? It's like, maybe he should go through that. Maybe he needs to go through that so he can come out the other side, irrespective of what we've said or not. We may not even have existed to them. Maybe we should not interfere. Like Back to the Future, where you go and interfere with someone's life, and the next thing you know, they start disappearing from photographs, and you've changed the course of history. It's like, no, that's what's meant to happen to them. Let it happen. As long as they don't die or become horribly, maimed or disfigured, let them suffer a little bit. Let them learn from it. Then see what they've got to say. Because at the end of the day, that which doesn't kill us makes us stronger. And let them, let them fall. I've got friends who've got kids, and one of my friends, he's a landscape gardener, and he was on his allotment, and he's got 3 kids. And when people have kids, the first one is really precious, and they wrap them up in cotton wool and overdo it. Now, the 3rd kid is running around. He's got blood on his knees. He's got snot hanging from his nose, and he's playing by the fire. And I said to my friend, I said, "Oh, and your boy's playing by the fire there?" And he went, "Yeah, he's all right." I said, what if he burns himself? He says he'll only do it once.
Yep.
It's like, and he's got the other kid who's like 15, never burnt himself and never learnt any lessons. And I just think,
Well, look, the old saying that we had was, if you're going to be dumb, you got to be tough.
Yeah.
And supernova dust. Okay, he says he might not come out the other side though. Look, that's up to them. I can't. I have no control over that. It's not my problem. I might have something to say, and it can be either taken to heart and acted upon or disregarded. So whether or not somebody comes out on the other side is not up to me or anybody else. It's all on you. It's your own responsibility how you're going to come out and what happens.
Yeah.
And again, the child with the fire is a perfect example. He'll only do it once. That's, I mean, I guess you could call it tough love. That might be an overstatement, but, people are intent on doing something. You're not going to stop them.
Yeah.
You might slow them down a little bit, but then they're going to go back and they're going to do it anyway until they learn that lesson.
Yeah, you've got to be there to pick up, because I see that in people. I saw that in people in the past. I'm like, right, I know you're not listening, and people we got close to as well. And I just sort of said to them, well, when it does happen, because it will, you're going to need a good solicitor. You're going to need a good lawyer. You're going to need to just give me a phone call when you're in the back of that police car. And they said, right, you can have one phone call, call me up and I'll make some phone calls. And, you'll get the advice you need, because I know you're not going to take this advice. It's, there's Element.
Right. And that, people, look, sometimes you got to bitch slap somebody, verbally maybe, or whatever. And, if you have to go get them out of jail or get them out of a mess or a fix or a bad marriage, or, they got kicked out of their house, whatever the case may be, and if you've put in a couple of opinions, or like Supernova says, sharing some advice, of course we've done that plenty in the past. And once you've done that, and then when the shit hits the fan, things go south for the other person, and you're there for them. Of course, that would have to be a good friend or, whatever. Saying "I told you so" is not wrong. It's that smack in the back of the head that they need. How many times do you want to hear somebody tell you, "I told you so," and you stupid shit, you didn't listen?
Yeah.
You wouldn't even consider it. So I think being a little bit harsh, or have you learned your lesson now? You could always come up with that one. And I've heard that when I was a young kid, did something stupid, and, one of the older guys, well, did you learn anything? Yeah, okay. How many times do you want to hear that shit? Because you've lost respect at that point from anybody else, your peers, if you will. So, either get smart or don't, and if you don't get smart, well, it's going to be a miserable time for you, and even possibly death. That's the way the world is. It's not here to pamper you. It's not here to give a shit about your feelings. It's not here. It's a hard, very violent place to be.
Yeah. I think as well, when you accept that, I mean, when you sort of accept that, the majority of the time is going to be a struggle, is going to be hardship, it sort of gets easier as you learn to manage your finances and, plan ahead and all that. You can sort of preempt any problems and smooth out the way ahead. But to kid yourself that life is going to be easy and all plain sailing, you're not going to have any problems, you invite suffering and struggles. You invite it because every time it's going to catch you off guard. And if you're a bit more realistic and you say, oh, that doesn't surprise me, that went wrong, oh, look, I've been charged, some fuckers charged me some bank charges and now I've gone overdrawn. Yeah, shit happens every day. Some shit happens to trip you up and make things harder, and you have to make phone calls or write letters or fill in documents and shit like that. And that's just the way the world is. At the very least, there's always a struggle. There's always someone, who wants to tie your shoelaces together, or, give you a wedgie and say, now look at you, and you just think, yep.
Well, this is where I think all this political correctness, all this crap going on in colleges, all this, everybody's offended, everybody. And, Gaming Board, he's teaching an adult critical thinking, good judgment, and responsibility. I think it would be easier if they were taught these tools in their adolescence, and I firmly agree with that.
Yeah.
The problem is that children are so spoiled, and there's no parenting, because parents are relatively spoiled as well. They've gotten to, well, I deserve this, I deserve that. And that goes down into their children. Their children get ignored. They get shuffled off to school where they're being indoctrinated by a very, very gynocentric educational system. It's not doing children any favors. You can't spank your child, and I'm not talking about beating a kid with a whip or anything like that. I'm talking about a good old-fashioned hand spanking, with a young child. A whack on the butt does a world of good of awakening. But you can't do that anymore, because if anybody sees you doing it, they'll call the cops, they'll arrest you for child abuse, take your kid away. There's a problem in society, and nobody's willing to deal with it. Everybody's just going into their own little, okay, I'll capitulate to the new norm. And this is why we're at the place we're at. It's just, and as they get older, it's I want, and I deserve, and I deserve. This whole thing of everybody deserves a trophy. Everybody gets an award. Everybody's a winner. No. Very few people get an award, if any. Very few people are winners. Get used to reality, and unfortunately, instill that early on. But society, parent, and educational systems will not do that. So we end up where we're at now, with a bunch of spoiled brats thinking they deserve everything, which is a good, look at the riots going on. This is all about, looting and having fun, burning shit down for no good reason, not even considering what they're doing in the long run, right? And then stealing shit because I want and I deserve. No, you don't.
Yeah, it's not good to breed a victim mentality in anyone, as if to sort of say, from the day you're born, to lead someone to believe that they are disadvantaged or somehow oppressed in any way. Because if you teach someone to identify with that identity, then you immediately hold them back. Everybody is going to be put in an environment, and there will be tests and trials and tribulations, and it will be relative to your environment. And at the end of the day, how you deal with that and the attitude you take to that will dictate whether you survive, whether you thrive, or whether you fail, and whether you let the system beat you because, oh, poor me, the world is against me. It's like, get real, everybody suffers. Everybody. It's like we were talking earlier about being locked up, for instance. It's par for the course when you're a young man, a working class young man. You'll be thrown in the back of a police car. You will be locked up, held overnight, handcuffed, thrown on the floor, pushed around, come out with a couple of bruises, and released without charge numerous times. And you don't question why. And you don't say, oh, it's because I'm a man. It's because I'm this or that. You just go, oh, well, where were you last night? Oh, I got arrested. What for? I had a few too many beers and, they wanted to clean up the streets after 11 p.m., and that was that. And you don't really question why. But if you say, oh, I'm so oppressed and it's just the fucking way life is. And, you just got to get on with it. And it's not right. I'm not saying it's right when people are abused and their freedoms are taken away. But there's people like Jean-Paul Sartre, that they would say, they thrive when they're oppressed. His mindset was, he had an energy. It's like, right, try and hold me down. I will enjoy life just to spite you. Just to show you that you're not going to beat me. I will just say, yeah, fucking, so what? You locked me up last night. Now what? Now what? Right. I don't care. I'm just going to carry on and keep getting up like Cool Hand Luke. You got to have that cool hand loop mentality, you know,
Right.
like the boxing scene where he's just getting beaten to shit.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, and he's just like, yeah, I'm going to keep getting up, because we don't have a choice. You
Well,
know?
that's what the whole Rocky movies were based on, wasn't it? You
Yeah,
know, that I'm not a victim. I'm not taking this shit. I'm getting up. I'm going to take a beating, and I'm going to keep dishing it out until, you know, and you know, on the flip side of it too is that a lot of it is that a lot of kids are being raised with this entitlement mentality. You know that either you're a princess or you deserve better. You know, or
yeah, I mean,
you know you're going to make it in life. You're going to be, you know, you're better than everybody else. And this is for boys and girls. You know, it's this whole fairy tale of shit that they got in their head that's being put there by their parents. And uh, you know, that doesn't give anybody strength. You know, it doesn't give anybody um, the mental fortitude to fight against this. It's so much easier to be a victim when,
mm,
well, what do you mean you know, I can't have this? Or, you know, of course I need a new car if I graduate high school, you know, really? Yeah.
well, they
You
get
know,
it, don't they?
you,
You know, there's a big payoff for being a victim. That's why it's so attractive, you know.
yeah, what they need is a kick in the ass out the door. You know, you want a new car? Go buy it. Go work. You know,
Yeah, and it will
I
teach
don't.
them to be self-sufficient. It will teach them to stand on their own 2 feet. You're actually, I think it's cruel to inhibit someone and wrap them up in cotton wool, because when they do go out into the big wide world, if they can't cook, or they've got no means of earning a living, or they're scared of everything that fucking moves, you're holding them back and you're making them less capable. So they will suffer because you haven't allowed them to become self-sufficient and strong. You know, you've kept them weak, and I don't agree with that. I see some pathetic people in like their mid-20s, and I look at them and I say, you can't fucking cook. What are you going to do when you live on your own? Because they don't even live on their own yet. Can't even fucking crack an egg.
Yeah. The,
How did you
you know,
get like that?
you know, I saw uh, a video of this 18-year-old girl, and her father bought her I think it was a Ferrari. I mean, don't quote me on what type of car it was, but it was a high end, either a Countach or a Ferrari, something like that. Lamborghini, whatever. And he opens the door, you know, takes a blindfold off her, and he says, "Surprise! Look what I got you," you know. And she goes out there and "What the fuck is this? I wanted a red one." And then she says, "Well, God," he says, "you know, well, get in and drive it. You'll like it, you know." And she says, "Well, it's a stick shift. I don't want a damn stick shift. I told you that." And she got all pissed off and slammed the door and ran inside the house. And I thought, are you fucking joking me?
He
You know?
created that monster.
Wow. And I mean, hey, Daddy-O, you deserved it. You made that, you know?
Yeah.
And
Daddy-O.
I mean, that was just something that, to me, I was sitting here with my jaw hanging open, and believe me, my jaw doesn't hang down for much. But that, Greg, yeah, my daughter was grateful for her Ferrari. Yeah, buy me one too, Greg. I know you can afford it. Anyway, no, I mean, that was just the height of entitlement, and how spoiled, and this is going out into society. Think of the guy she's going to date, or the man she might marry, or the people she gets around in a store, and what she expects from all the underlings in her mind. You know, I mean, wow, it goes so deep. And this
Let's
is
bring Element in, because
all right. Yeah, good idea.
if we're going to get onto the subject of entitlement, definitely. I mean, I don't experience it much because I don't really interact with many people. But what do you think about this this issue of this entitlement in people these days, Element.
Oh, it's vanity, you know. I mean, and that's one of the worst things is to be vain. Because I mean, you guys hit it right on the head, and I would have said the exact same thing. It teaches people to be. It doesn't train people for the struggle of what really is, what it really means to live and survive in the hard world out there. Because you're just weakening people. You know, you're not teaching them that it's not going to be that easy. And that's what they teach kids in high school, I think, too, is that, oh, you just go pick up a degree from the degree store and then you go get a job and that pays and then you got everything set and ready to go. They make it so linear, and in reality, it's not that way at all. I mean, I remember what I wanted to be to where I ended up becoming is nothing what I thought it was when I was like 15 of what I imagined I wanted to be. I wanted to be in a rock band when I was 15, but obviously that was never going to happen. But you see, they taught us that they think that you can do anything and then you can make it happen. In reality, you don't really want to do anything that makes you happy necessarily, because if you do that, then, it's just that whole mindset that it's going to be that easy, and it's not. And in reality, that some of the things that you might want actually end up being the worst for you. But yeah, I mean, I think the vanity and the vainness of people these days is why people are the way that they are, and they deserve really what they get. The other day, last night I was at the grocery store. Not the grocery store. I'm sorry, at a local 24/7 gas station after I had gotten off work, and there was one of these women in there, and I knew that it was her car, but she had written like all the political stuff that's going on today on her car in like that ink or whatever that you can write on the window with. I mean, plastered a car with all this crap that is going on politically right now at the moment. I mean, you just got to think to yourself how stupid most people are these days, and really that they deserve what they get because they don't want to listen, they don't care, and they like it. They like getting involved in all this stuff. But going back to the point, I mean, yeah, it's crazy to think that you give someone something of that caliber and then they don't appreciate it. But like you said, Lazarus, you spoil somebody like that, they're going to be extremely narcissistic and very just unappreciative people, and even bordering on the lines of a sociopath, I guess. But yeah. Treating, getting people everything that they want, and not teaching them that it's going to be really, really hard road to get anything that you want, and you're going to have to work your butt off to get it.
We create problems as well, don't we? When we look at the way the world is, and we sort of say, oh, people are fucking entitled and demanding and narcissistic. It's like you must have seen that Karen meme, like the middle-aged white mother who she stopped her dad from seeing the kids, and she's just going around thinking she can just shout and scream at everyone and complain, and she always wants to fucking see the manager. Society created that monster by giving these fuckers everything they demanded for decades now. And now we're stuck with these people who think there's nothing wrong with shouting and screaming and, thinking they can push in and get special treatment. And to a degree, we allowed that to happen. I mean, nobody in this chat allowed that to happen because we've always been against it. But the people who just laid down and, yes, dear, and the governments that went, affirmative action, you got to let them have what the men have got. And now, fuck me, they want more, because the message they've been given is you deserve it simply because you're who you are, female. They're driving around in big fucking cars and that. They didn't pay for those cars. They didn't work for those cars with the big fucking sunglasses on their heads.
The other thing is most people can't afford those cars anyway.
Yeah.
Most people can. It's just a show. I mean, honestly, who can afford to buy like a $40,000 or $50,000 car? And that's like the low end models compared to whatever it is that you of course get. But you can't. There's some people that I see that are driving these really expensive like Mercedes Benz and BMWs and Range Rovers down the road, and I'm like, that car's like 80 grand. How the hell can you afford to pay? Who just has? There's a lot of fuckers that have 80 grand, and I want to know where it's coming from. I'll tell you that, because it seems like every day I see somebody with like a really expensive car. And the reality is that that's why they have payment options, because they know that people can't afford them. You know, that's a lot of money. I mean, usually that's why you see older people drive them. They can afford them because they've saved up their money, of course, and they wanted to have something nice for themselves, I guess. But you see these younger kids that are driving those things. I'm like, nah, that's not yours. You know?
Yeah. But who wants that anyway? I mean, you got an 80 grand car, you won't be able to sleep at night. You know, if the alarm goes off, or if you hear someone outside, you think, oh, they're going to scratch my car. Or you park at the grocery store, and if someone has, you know, left a scuff on your door or whatever, it's thousands of pounds worth of damage. Who, you know, like now, you know, when I get a car, I just go, look, if it gets scratched, it gets scratched. I don't really give a fuck, you know.
No, the reality is, I mean, if you got the money, you can afford it, and you have the money for it, then fine. You know, you can buy whatever the hell you want. You can buy your daughter a Ferrari and have her be ungrateful for it if you want. But, you know, in reality, you know, let's have our common sense and be realistic. If you can't afford something, you can't buy it. You know, that's one of the things that was instilled in me that I learned is, you know, don't get into debt and don't borrow money that you don't have, because that's all you're going to be enslaved to that. And then you're going to get into the bad habit of doing that. And then before you know it, you're so in debt, and then things are getting repossessed from you because you wanted it and you wanted it now because you couldn't afford it. Or, you know, there's some justified reasons for borrowing money that you might, you know, would be considerable, but most people don't do that. They want what they want. They want it now. They want to be, they want to chase the rat wheel of something that means nothing in the end, which is to have this image of people in their heads of who they think they are. And then the reality, if you actually meet these people, like, it's funny, you know, the whole idea that we see of people that want to have all these nice, luxurious things, but when you talk to them, they're really shitty people. You know, they're not like these really successful, smart people that are helpful and kind, and they worked hard, and so they want to give back, and they want to present like a successful image of themselves, not of one of a ungrateful, spoiled, you know, asshole that just is doing it to get attention from people. Most of those people are real jerks. And so that kind of says it all right there, I say.
Well, you know, uh-oh, did my mic go dead? Am I still in here?
You're on. You're on.
Okay. You know, when I worked for Mercedes, and I worked for them for 18 years, I worked for a lot of the old money. And those people, for the most part, didn't put on some big narcissistic act. You know, some of them did, very few. But the ones that had the real money, I mean, the big money, you know, were very pleasant people to deal with, you know, normal even to a degree. Now, of course, I wasn't involved personally with these people. It was a business thing. But as the younger crowd started buying these cars and getting in over their head, I noticed that the attitudes were very, oh, look at me, you know, and I'm more important than you are. Matter of fact, I had a Mercedes. I had a 380 SEL back in the day when that was quite a car. And, you know, I was in the shop one day, and foreman came up to me, and I was working on my own car because we were slow. And he asked me, you know, he says, hey, we got a car to come in, you know, move your car out. I said, okay. So I back my car out, and I back it out in reverse kind of fast all the way out the parking lot, and kind of slide it, you know, Nicolas Cage style into the parking lot. And the guy like, yeah, is that the way you drive customers' cars and shit? And, you know, he got really obnoxious, and I said, that's my car. And the shop foreman came over. He said, yeah, that's his car. He can drive it any way he wants. should have seen the look on that guy's face. It was like, how dare I, as a lowly, you know, grease monkey,
A pleb.
own a Mercedes? You know, that was like, what? You know, and as the old money died out, you know, we occasionally, when we didn't have much to do, we would go pick up a car, you know, from here or there. If a customer needed it, they bought the car there and whatever. And I remember going to this one guy's house, and he had a fairly new car, and I think it was a SL 500, and these were over 100 grand at the time. And we pull up there, and I'll tell you what, this was the most rundown, god-awful shack of a house. I mean, you would expect to see it in a ghetto, and yet he had this car. You know, explain that to me. I mean, that's the mentality of the people that really don't have the kind of money to support it, and they're all in debt. They're all in debt, and they don't realize that, you know, yeah, the $500, $600 a month payment, you know, well, they can kind of eke that out and look good, you know, convincing everybody out there. So basically, it's you know, the same thing with credit cards. You see everybody, you know, that they run their credit card up into the where they'll never pay it off because, you know, what's the interest now? 22% or higher. And they look at a credit card like, oh, that's not real money. You know, they don't even consider that this has to be paid. It's a real mess out there. And that goes back to the entitlement of, you know, well, I deserve this. You know, I deserve this car. I deserve this, you know, whatever, that new suit or that new dress or whatever it is. And they can't stop themselves. And yet they don't realize the hardships that are reality. And I think it's coming. I think the rude awakening is coming after all this shit we've been through. You know, whether it be the lockdown, the riots now, making things so bad that pretty soon people are going to learn that life is really a bitch and nothing is easy. You deserve nothing and you're not going to get anything. So you better harden up. And I'm afraid that a lot of people aren't going to know how to do that.
Yeah, most people aren't. That's true. Most people aren't. Most people are going to stomp their feet all the way to their deathbed, I'm afraid, or until they realize it gets so bad, and then by that point they'll probably just end up killing themselves because they don't know what to do. Yeah, it's going to get tough out there. That's for sure. There's a lot of stuff going on right now that people really are not too aware of. That's pretty bad, and the only thing you can do is survive the best you can and adapt in the tools that you need to survive in the world that we live in, and try the best to make that happen. I mean, that's all you can do. If you work hard, you know, save up your money and get stuff that you need. But you have to have the mindset to go with that. I mean, if you're just every other person that just saves up their money and, you know, invest their money into things that really aren't going to benefit you, at least in this day and time, then really is kind of pointless, I guess you could say. I always have instilled that, you know, people need to try to, you know, invest their money in things that are going to help them survive psychologically and physically. By, you know, getting a gun to defend yourself is important, especially these days. And making sure, as we saw with this stuff that happened recently, and in a way is still happening, make sure you have food and stuff, because the public will eat their own, meaning that they will walk over to you because they were unprepared for whatever it is. Their mentality is not in the right state of mind. to think ahead any farther than the nose on their face. So they're going to rush to the stores and buy up all the stuff just like they did last time. So, just little simple things like that is good to have in your mindset in terms of survivability. These days, I was telling Messenger I had a cable package with the internet here, and it was because it was cheaper, which is why I got it. Not too recently ago, about 2 weeks ago, I turned it in, I threw it out. I said, I don't even watch TV. I haven't watched TV in years. I'll just fork out the extra little bit of money to pay it. And honestly, it's there's no purpose of having all this crap in your life anymore, television and all that. Of course, you got to stay up to date with what's going on, but it's poison to your mind, and it's useless information because it's all crap. So, these are basic things that you kind of have to start, at least for us. I don't know anybody else. Anybody else, I don't know what the hell they're doing. They're always tied up into it all, but of the world. But, you got to get rid of this stuff out of your life and start adapting a different kind of mindset. Like Messenger, he's getting his life and stuff ready for a certain kind of way of living, and so am I. And this is what we got to do to keep our sanity, because like you said, Wars, it's going to get a lot more difficult, especially for people that are younger, because they're not adapted and they're not prepared to face the challenges that are going to go for them. So, I really don't know what else to say about that specific topic, because it really is just, to me, it's kind of become common sense, But I guess that's because, we've actually taken the effort to work towards realizing what we're in, and just go ahead and do what you need to do to get things done. And that's the thing that separates people that succeed in life and the people that don't is are you going to work for it? Are you going to take the actions? Or are you just going to sit and stew and think about it all day long and hope maybe something gets better? You got to take action. If you sit back and do nothing, nothing will happen. And that's just how it is. You have to move and take steps and make things happen. And if there's a problem, then you got to fix it. If there's a situation that's unstable or something that is going on in the world that might affect you later on down the road, then, take the steps needed to prepare yourself for it. And I think it's simple as that. For me, it's as simple as that, but that means it takes effort, and people really don't put effort into things anymore. So
I think you got to be aware of those entitled people as well, because they're used to getting shit for nothing everywhere they go. And it's right what you say. On a smaller level, it's not just about defending yourself physically. I've got neighbors now. When I go out, they know me to say good morning to. But just recently, because times are a little bit harder for them, they've been asking for, we need some stuff picked up. Is it okay to put it in your car? And I just look at them and say, oh no, I'm busy. It won't fit. And I think, fucking Jesus Christ, I don't even know you when you want to fill my car up with your shit because you haven't got a car. Between the two of you living together, you haven't thought to get yourself a vehicle. And they're sort of saying, oh, I need a lift to the next town tomorrow. Is there any? And I say, no, I'm sorry, I'm busy. But as times get tougher for people, the people who are used to getting given stuff, they've got absolutely no fucking qualms about asking people who they hardly know for free shit. Oh, can I have that? You've got it. Can I have it? Can I use it? And you just think, no, because I know what will happen. You'll go, there's the person who drives me around all over the place and lets me fill their car up with shit, and it never ends. You invite that what do you call it when they like freeloading? You're the person they come to every time they need a lift, and I can't be dealing with people like that. So that's another reason to isolate yourself for the foreseeable future as well.
It always goes in one direction. The minute you start doing things for them, they want more. And then if you need anything from them, well, you can get, piss off. They don't have the time for you. Yeah. Because their time is more valuable than yours, even though you've helped them You know, they don't think that there are any repercussions for their actions. You know, they don't talk to you, you know, before, and now times are getting tough and they're asking you for shit. Well, this is a repercussion of what you've acted like. Okay? This is what you've cultivated in your life. And they don't, you know, and they'll say, oh, well, he's a jerk off. You know, he's an asshole and everything. He wouldn't help me out. It wouldn't hurt him to do that. There goes that entitlement again.
Yeah. Yeah. They're quick to call your names and, you know.
Yeah. You know, and feel like you owe them something, which you don't. And, you know, look, I think living a simple life, simplifying life, is the best way to go. And that doesn't mean go without. You know, get the things or do the things that you enjoy doing, but make sure that you're as self-sufficient as possible. Keep it simple, and don't let anybody influence you. Anybody, you know. Because people are always going to be jealous, or they're going to want things from you. And, you know, when you have more than somebody else, to say you have the car and they don't, you know, and you refused it, now they're going to try to get even with you, you know. Yeah. So this is the kind of mentality we're dealing with out there, that you've got people that are... what's the word I'm looking for? You know, when somebody tries to get even with you, or they're being
vindictive.
Crap. Vindictive, yeah. You know, but it's like they want you to be afraid to say no to them.
Yeah,
because if you do say no to them, then, oh, we're going to fuck with you. You know,
I thought that afterwards. I thought, are these people going to start? Are these people going to start now going, oh, you fucking, you know, you're a cunt. You know, you wouldn't fucking give me a lift, and I really needed one. And next thing you know, because they didn't get what they want, you're the asshole. And I thought, oh, I better just stay away from these people, because if I fall out with them, you know, there'll be scratches appearing on the car, and, you know, just they'll start fucking with your life, and, you know, they'll feel justified in doing it as well, because,
right,
you know, you made them go without. Now it's your fault that they, you know, they can't go where they want to go, or they haven't got what they want, or, you know, can't deal with those people.
You know, I've been called a simple man, and it's not that I'm a simple man so much as I live a simple lifestyle, or it looks simple to other people, you know, because things flow very well, and they go my way with things that I've achieved and I've done for myself. So it seems like it's very effortless, you know, to other people looking in from the outside. And then you get the people that are jealous of that, you know, and I'll agree, you know, yeah, I'm a simple man. You know, I have simple wants, simple, you know, I like living a simple life, not a complicated life. Why would I want that? You know, my ego isn't big. I've never been jealous of anybody or anything they own or have or whatever. So, you know, what is the sense of that? Does anybody really think out there that by being this egotistical, you know, vindictive type of person, that you will somehow be in a better position to be remembered, that you're somebody more important? And I got news for those people. The minute you get put into the ground, chances are that you won't be remembered for a month afterwards by most people. Maybe family, you know, but you will have not mattered very much. So what is all this staturing and egotistical crap, and, oh, look at me and I deserve this and that. Where's that getting you? You're not thinking inwardly. You're not concerned about yourself. You're more concerned about other people, what they're doing. How does this affect me? What can they do for me? I'm so important. No, you're misguided. For the most part. Sure, okay, people like Albert Einstein, yeah, we remember his name and what he's done. Did any of us know him personally? Do we know who the man really was? No. We just remember what he did. You can go all the way back in history, any of the big names that you might bring up in literature. We remember what they've said, what certain little things, but we didn't know the person. Not at all.
Yeah, and when we find out what they were like, it's often the opposite of what we assumed they were like.
Right, and even if that's the truth, and hasn't been perverted over the period of time. So, and that's a rarity, for out of, what is it, 7.6 billion people on this planet. Everybody thinks that they're going to, be the one to be remembered and, the important person. No, man, you're just like a anthill. That's about how important all of us are in the end result. And yeah. I don't care, even people like, let's say some big names, Bill Gates right now, or Elon Musk or anything like that. 20 years from now, shit, man, people will hardly remember these fuckers, or after they're dead or whatever. It just won't come up. There'll be somebody new, somebody else, somebody whatever. So, God, people need to get over that. And I think that's part of the problem with society, is that everybody thinks that they're so goddamn important, that they're somebody, and of course you should have enough faith in yourself to put yourself first and your own life, but not above everybody else and think they owe you something. I'm talking about taking care of yourself. You are responsible for that. Greg, Einstein didn't kill himself. I think that was a Epstein.
It does. That reminds me of. Have you seen Dead Poets Society?
Yeah.
Where he says to all the kids at the start, he says, "Look at those pictures. That was like 100 years ago or whatever." And he remarks about the fact that everyone on the planet now, in 100 years' time, will be gone, and there'll be an entire new global population. Unless you were born today and you live to be 100 and a day or whatever, you understand the concept. It's like, we really don't fucking matter that much, because in 100 years' time, there'll be an entire new world population all talking about the same shit we've already spoken about. All the same issues will come up. The gender issues, the race issues, it'll all go full circle. And it's already been and gone in past global generations. It's like cyclical. It just goes round and round and round, but they all think they're the first person to say this or think this. And if you look back, you realize it's nothing new, nothing new. But it's quite depressing when you think about it, and that sort of links into that topic I wanted to talk about just briefly, because I think I said to a couple of people during the week, I said, I'm flat, like emotionally flat. And they said, well, what do you mean? I said, like, there's nothing. I said, it's like a good flat, though. There's nothing from the past. That's all gone. There's no feelings there. It's like an emotional blank slate. And I thought, oh, that's good, because it used to piss me off. But that's all dead. But with that came this feeling of, okay, now, is this a problem that I don't actually feel anything? And I had to look it up, and the term is called Anhedonia, like the opposite of, like linked to hedonism, but the opposite. You know, you don't feel pleasure. You don't even anticipate pleasure. So they have anticipatory anhedonia, where, you know, you could be like, oh, tomorrow we're going, I don't know, fucking skiing or whatever you enjoy. Tomorrow we're going to the gun range tomorrow. You know, we're going to eat 10 fucking chocolate cakes. And you'll just go, yeah, so what? You know, it's like you can't even get yourself worked up or excited about anything. You're just like, yeah, just another fucking chocolate cake, you know, just another trip to the gun range, just another new car. And then you start to think, fuck, when am I going to, you know, when am I going to enjoy anything? And then I started to think, well, where's this come from? And then I looked around at everything, and it might just be a sign of the times, you know, the situation.
Right.
But I just sort of looked around and I thought, they're taking all the fun away. You know,
Yeah.
there's no fucking fun left in the world. You want to do something, oh, it's against the law. Oh, you can't do that there. Why not? Because you'll get a fine. Oh, there's government restrictions on that. Oh, you'll get arrested for doing that. And you just think, what the fuck can we do? Because we're not about shutting ourselves away and hiding from the world. We want to live a life and enjoy it. But it just seems to be so hard to get excited about any activities. And then when you're doing them, there's always seems to be some fucker there with a big sign or a clipboard saying, oh, you know, are you aware of the restrictions? And you think, oh, fuck off. I'll go back home then. You know, I'll go back home and watch Netflix and eat fucking another pizza.
If I don't mind jumping in there with that, I guess in a way I'm in a similar situation, but I guess I would call it maybe something different. For me, I'm very jaded with life, I guess, because the things that I guess people in general like to do, they like to go outside and stuff like that. For me, I like to do that too. I mean, but in a different way. I think it's I don't know. It's trying to formulate the right words to put it. I guess the world that I see myself living in is not the one I want to live in, of course. And because of that, I don't want to do anything until I see a better situation for everybody and even for myself. And I think I would agree with what you said. I think it is part of just our situation and the environment that we're put in. I mean, we're put in a very hostile and very negative environment. So I think it's an appropriate response to shut down because it's not worth it and it's dangerous. And it's in a way maybe a psychological preservation method.
Yeah.
But on the other side of it, it might just be, you know, like if you inhale gasoline, you're going to get sick. I mean, so in other words, if you're being put into a hostile and sick environment, you're going to have consequences. That's a normal thing. You're going to suffer. It's not a good thing, but it's a normal thing. And I think that is part of maybe what you're saying there. For me, I guess it's just kind of like taking a stance and saying, look, I'm unhappy with what's going on here, and I'm not doing nothing that I don't want to do anymore. And if it doesn't interest me, I'm just not going to do it, which is most things, really. I'm very bored with life. It's just the same stuff on repeat over and over and over again. You know, crappy news, lies, manipulation over again. And to me, it doesn't even bother me anymore. Like I've seen it so much, I've just developed like such a thick skin to disappointment now that it just doesn't even bother me. I'm like, oh, whatever. And it's freeing in a way, I guess, and I guess it's mainly because I've kind of prepared myself for it, which helps a lot to know that, you know, things are just going to get bad. But I'm not like depressed over any of it. I'm not sad about any of it. I'm like, okay, that's how it's going to be. All right, then I'm just going to prepare for it. Here's what I'm going to do and carry on. That's just me personally. But going back to, you know, Anhedonia, I've never even heard that before. I'm looking it up now. It's interesting.
Yeah, Anhedonia. I said to Warhorse earlier, I said, I wonder, I mean, it's not as if we aren't full of potential. It's not as if we don't have skills and, you know, the potential to do great things. I just wonder if we're conserving our energy, you know, where you just sort of see where it can be wasted, where your efforts will be wasted, where your time will be wasted, and you make the decision to say, no, I'm not interested in that, you know. But it's become so prevalent, so entrenched in daily life that you think, I am full of energy and potential. Just give me something to fucking go at. And when I see it, I will fucking smash it. You know, I will attack it. I will enjoy the fuck out of it. You know, I will create, I will build, you know, I will maintain, you know, and I will leave a legacy. But just show me something that's fucking worth, you know, investing my time and effort in. And, you know, we can do projects and stuff like that. And when we do, we get really engrossed in it and we love the research. But then when it's run its course, you sort of say, yeah, I'm not the first person to do that, obviously.
And I think another thing too is that I think part of that also is because we're not getting the proper like mental stimulus that we need either.
Yeah.
You know, when you kind of see things in a different way above just the norm, it's very difficult to get mentally excited or stimulated for something when your mindset and how you think about things is so above what is going on around you. You need that more stimulus, which is, I think, one of the reasons why smart people do drugs and drink is because they're trying to escape. They're trying to have something stimulate their mind other than just the garbage that is out there. You know, I think that's part of it. I wouldn't say that's necessarily the main reason, but I think it's a form of escapism because there's just no other mental stimulus that you can kind of grasp onto that you need to excite your mind, you know, to other possibilities of what you just live in this little box. You know, because if you look around you, all you got's the stupid TV and the crap they tell you on the news and everything, and that's not stimulating. That's just garbage. And so we always try to seek after that. And I think that's one of the reasons why people become very jaded, aside from just going through a lot of stuff, is that you're just not mentally stimulated enough. And that's a tough thing to have to try to find, because I think the kind of mental stimulus that at least maybe people like us are trying to achieve is something way beyond earthly means. I mean, I think we want to know what's really going on. I mean, we want to know how this place works, and we want to know what's the real true root cause of why things are going the way that they're going, not just what they tell us or what we might think, but really what is it. And anyways, I just wanted to add that in there too.
Well, I wonder, you know, it reminds me of the old song Kicks. Kicks keep getting harder to find. And I wonder if, you know, age has something to do with that, and living a full life and doing a lot of things in life. And I'm in the same boat you guys are. I mean, I've completely lost my steam with everything. You know, I'm not finding any fun in anything. You know, projects, I start them, I go into them with a lot of gusto. And then even while doing them, I become very like, fuck, you know, all right, let's get this over with. I'm not living in that moment anymore because, you know, everything else has just been like compressing, you know, all this information we're getting from, you know, and I don't even have TV anymore. So I'm not even listening to mainstream news. You know, I'm getting all my information from the internet, which is bad enough. You know, and you're constantly bombarded with it, and you feel just exhausted mentally, and it starts to take a toll physically, you know, where nothing seems to get the blood flowing or the motivation going. It, you know, and you keep looking for something that might get you going. And you know, I'll give you an example here. You guys know I like to cook, you know, and I like my toys in the kitchen and stuff like that. So I always try different things. and I just ordered this pressure cooker, you know, an Instant Pot, whatever. And I was all excited about it, and the fucking thing was expensive as hell, you know, and I thought, oh, good, you know, I can make roasts, I can make, you know, turkey breasts and all this kind of stuff and make it quick. And, you know, so I get to going on it, and, you know, everything I'm doing on it, it's like a pain in the ass, and it's not turning out just right. And, you know, then the damn thing isn't working right. Now I'm looking up, you know, what am I doing wrong? And it's like, holy fuck, this was supposed to be enjoyable, and I'm not enjoying it, you know. And I'm wondering why, because I used to like that challenge of overcoming an obstacle. But there are so many obstacles in life, just daily living obstacles and everything going on around, that it becomes overbearing, and it just takes the wind out of you. You know, it just, whew, you know, I really can't explain it, but it just gets to the point. And I know, you know, look, I'm probably the oldest guy in here, but I just can't find that that fun out there anymore. That wanting to go and explore life, or, you know, this, that, and the other, and every little thing that used to mean something to me. I mean, the place I used to go to, this little shit pub, you know, I mean, well, it's shit, I call it shit. It's a little wooden shack, you know, probably hold maybe 35 people tops, and that's shoulder to shoulder. I used to go there, you know, I'd have a few beers, I'd have, you know, some wings for lunch. You could smoke in there. It was one of the few places left, and we don't have a non-smoking law in Florida. But if you become a restaurant, you can't smoke in there. So, you know, because of the lockdown and everything else, well, Florida opened up restaurants, but they didn't bars. I get a call from the owner. She tells me they opened back up again. And I said, oh, great. You know, I get to ride my bike. And this is one of the only places left that I enjoy to ride through the country, to go there, have lunch, a few beers, talk a little bit of shit, and leave, go home. You know, just for a couple hours. I get there, big sign on the front door, no smoking. I'm like, all right, yeah, I get it. People don't like smoking. It's bad for you. It's unhealthy, but it's one of my few vices that I enjoy, okay? And I'm not going to sit there and pay a lot of money for a beer and sit outside in the Florida heat just so I can have a cigarette. So, as like with every place else that did this, you know, I said, okay, well, let me know if anything changes. So now I literally have no place to go. My last little bastion of fun got ruined. You know, I mean, it all kind of adds up to where you say, well, what the fuck's the sense of it? You know, and I can justify it by saying, hey, look, I'm happy where I'm at here. You know, I've got everything I want, I need. You know, I enjoy everything that I own. The beer is cheaper, for one thing. I can make my own wings, but it's not the same thing. You know, my bike has been sitting for months. I think the tires are turning square. You know, it's just like, holy fuck, where do I go? What do I do? Everywhere I go, I'm not allowed to do something, or not, you know, you got to follow all these goddamn micro rules everywhere you go. And that, to me, being the kind of person I am, is unacceptable. Therefore, I don't go. That's it. I've kind of checked out, you know, but it does kind of take the steam out of you. It makes things to where am I having fun anymore? Where can I enjoy something? And I'm not finding it. I'm just kind of at the dead end.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I had this idea before lockdown. I was sort of, well, I'm still, that is the plan, but this sort of thing has, you know, put the brakes on. And the idea was, it was based around Colin Wilson's concept of peak experience, whereby if you live this monotonous life, this routine, something inside you, he calls the robot, starts living your life for you. And you know, if you take a step back and observe, who makes the coffee in the morning if you're on autopilot? You know, the robot does it. And then he started to look at everything and he said, my life is so boring. This automatic pilot version of me, the robot, has taken over. And the only time I'm truly myself, and the only time, more importantly, I feel alive, is when the routine is completely fucking trashed. And there's this ordeal I've got to face. And then it's like, step aside, robot. You know, we got shit to deal with here. And then you become alive. Then you start to innovate. Then you start to find solutions. And, you know, you've got something to fight. And you get up in the morning and you say, yeah, I'm going to fucking beat this thing. And the only way I could see to feel alive again was to create a peak experience by putting myself through ordeals. And the plan was, get rid of everything, fucking sell everything. Just, I don't want to own anything. It's all shit anyway. You could probably fit it in a couple of fucking suitcases. And that's it. And then just get a boat. And when you're on the boat, I don't know how to fucking operate the boat. I haven't got a clue what all these switches and fucking things are for. I'll find out. I'll have to find out. And in the process of all this, I'll be living. Yeah, fuck if it breaks down, so what? Fuck if there's a big thunderstorm, great. You know, I'll sit out in it, I'll fucking dance naked in it, for fuck's sake, just so I can feel alive, just so I can feel connected with something other than sitting on a fucking couch, watching Netflix, eating another fucking boring meal, just because some cunt locked me down because of some fake virus. And that's why I'm so pissed off. I'm like, you won't let me live. You've caged me. I'm sort of fucking just being held under, and you know, I can't go. I'm looking at the boat market. There's nothing new coming on the market. The marinas are shut. I can't even go and view. And I think, you're not letting me live my life, you bastards. You're not letting me fucking live. And I know how you feel. You know, you're sitting in your front yard there. You know, we're looking at the fire, and going, well, I've got everything I need, but have another beer, have another chicken wing, you know. What do we do? Yeah. It just becomes like non-eventful, and there's no, I mean, when was the last time you laughed out loud so much that it hurt? You know, and then you go home and you think, fuck, I feel like my insides have had a spring clean. You know, you think, why is that? And it's because you've laughed so fucking hard. You just feel better. I don't know what they're doing to people at the moment, but even before lockdown, the whole consumer-driven society, people weren't happy then. Bigger house, bigger car, you know, whatever, next iPhone. None of that was making people happy. They're just on more meds and drinking more and going, why is my life so shit? Maybe I need a bigger house. Or that wasn't working. And now they've locked us down. This isn't working. And they're saying, let's get back to normal. And I'm thinking, what's normal? The way you were before lockdown? Because that I wanted to escape from as well. I didn't want to live like that. I don't know, but it seems whatever plan you make, there's a sign on the door saying no smoking, no fun, no enjoying yourself. You know, there's just fucking signs everywhere now. I don't know.
The other thing, Messenger, is that I remember hearing this. I think it had to do with social engineering is where I think I heard this from, or I think I was looking into social engineering, and one of the things that they do, especially with the news, and I guess they do it by people's minds, and it also ties into like humans as a whole, I think, which is maybe why, like I was saying to you, I can relate because I'm in a kind of similar situation, which is why I'm now like I'm looking at getting a certain kind of handgun that I want. I'm going to start going back to the shooting range. I'm looking into all these different kind of things about survival, because I think what it is that when you have everything sustainable, and you have plenty and abundance of things, you get bored of it. There's no worry of some kind of threat that's going to come and get you. And
Right.
so I think in a way, they have to every now and then they kind of have to throw in a little bit of fear as a way of getting, people to react, because otherwise they become complacent and lethargic. And so, but aside from that, in myself personally, and I think the situation as a whole, we need to have some kind of thing that we can unify against, which is why they always have an enemy out there. We always have to find something to fight against. And now it's the whole crap with the Black Lives Matter and all this garbage. That is the new enemy, right? Is the cops and all that, whatever. That's the unified enemy, so or racism or whatever. That's the unified enemy that they're getting all the people to rally against. But aside from that reason, because those people do it for, they're just idiots. But for us, we kind of have to have some kind of thing that's going to spark our survival instincts again, because that really is something that really gets us to have a pretty dramatic change in our lives, because we realize that all this, luxuries and things that we do have are not necessary when you're in a survival situation. It's all about survival, and so your mind is set on trying to make it the next day. So I think what's happened is they've made us weak by giving us an abundance of entertainment and buying stuff, which has turned us very lazy, fat, and stupid. And as a result of that, we don't have anything to get us up off our ass to say, hey, look, there's something that's coming, and we need to figure out a way to defeat it. You see, when you tell people something like that, it gives them a purpose. It gives them something to have to do. Like, there's a purpose, and that's why men need to have a purpose in life, because they'll destroy things and get, and be reckless in a sense, because they don't have a purpose, and they need to have a purpose. Everybody needs to have a purpose. They need to have something that makes them get up in the morning, which is why recently I've been pulling, double shifts, even when I don't even have to be there at work, to make more money, to get things done, to have a purpose, to get up to do something. Because before, I just didn't care, But aside from that, it gives me a reason. But yeah, I think, we're so everything is so easy, and there's no thing that we really have to worry about necessarily that's going to come and get us, that we need to say, look, okay, drop everything. This is really what matters, which is our survivability. And for us, I think it's a different kind of survivability. It's a psychological survivability, because we're kind of sitting on our own insanity in a way, because we're trying to figure out, God, we're looking around at us and we're seeing, everything, it just doesn't make any sense, and it's stupid, and things are out of control, and they're not letting us do things. We need to have something that is going to give us purpose again. And I think that is a real, enemy of sort, not the fake one, but, what is that enemy? Like, what is the thing that's going to get us off our butt to make us do something again? And, for me, I think it's, the people that push all this crap in the news and stuff, that's really what is the thing that should have our attention. But, and I tried to word that the best I could, because it just came into my mind out of the blue, and I didn't really have time to formulate it the right way I wanted to say it. But yeah, I think it's just complacency, and they've made us really fat, stupid, and lazy. And as a result of that, we get bored of things. But when you have, when you get thrown out into the forest, and it's like, okay, you need to survive, and there's somebody coming for you, you need to find food, and like, you need to get out of there. That makes you live real quick. That's a real meaning of survival. But yeah, I mean, I guess I tried to word that the best I could, but I just kind of wanted to throw that in there too. Maybe you guys could work that some way.
Yeah, it does. I mean, what they did with the lockdown, this is how I see it. If it is planned, if there is a master plan behind it all, they locked people down for so long, they had so much energy, like unspent excess energy. You give them something to fucking protest about, riot about. They've got so much energy stored up. They're going to be out on the fucking streets, you know? It's like they're saying, whose streets are streets? Yeah, well, you know, we don't go out and fucking smash the place up, burn everything just because you're so, you know, we're allowed out. You know, what are we going to do? I don't know. Just fucking smash things, burn things. Just, you know, just use all that energy. It's like, it has to be focused. It has to be. It's like I was saying earlier. When we've got so much potential, when we're full of energy and potential, maybe it's better to just conserve it and sort of say, am I wasting my energy and my time and my potential by going out there and just exploding into the world and saying, look at me, I fucking want to be noticed, you know? And then you achieve nothing apart from shouting, screaming, making a tit of yourself and fucking burning someone's business to the ground. You know, there's other ways to be heard and there's other ways to achieve stuff. But I just think, I don't know, I see there's a lot of people, although we feel lethargic and tired and probably lazy, and we've got into this, you know, routine where we don't really want to do much because we don't have to at the moment, or we can't. I still think there's a lot of energy. I think there's a lot of energy. It might be frustration, it might be anger, it might just be people like a coiled spring sitting indoors going, fuck, I need to get out and, you know, let me do what I used to do. Let me, you know, some people enjoy their jobs. You know, some people might like fucking, I don't know, being a mechanic or being a construction worker. They might be absolutely fucking desperate to get back to work because they love it, you know, because they don't like sitting indoors. But that energy, it's there. I mean, in every house you see where someone's been locked down for weeks and weeks, in that house more than likely is someone who's ready to fucking do something, you know. And you can't let other people manipulate the way you act, and by creating these protests and these riots, you know. I think it's misplaced energy. That's all. I don't think as many people would be out on the streets if they weren't so fucking frustrated about not being allowed to be out on the streets. So the reaction is one that I think has been manipulated and manufactured. But yeah,
Well,
I think they tried to find out how much they can push and how much we're willing to put up with.
yeah.
And as a society, as a global society, I think we showed them that we're willing to put up with almost anything if they put some kind of fear into us. And then it became apparent that the whole thing was kind of a scam. You know, it was contrived and it was intentional, and that built a lot of resentment and anger. Also being locked up and, you know, not being able to go out or you know, having this state sanctioned, and I don't care what country you're in, you know, I mean, being forced to do something under the threat of violence, arrest, the legal system, you know, all this, that takes a heavy toll on a society. And once it kind of started dawning on people that, hey, wait a minute, you know, this whole thing was supposed to, you know, wipe out half of the world, and yet it didn't even come up to a third of a normal yearly flu. Shit just broke open. You know, the whole, you put it into one big package, all these things going on. And then they said, all right, well, let them go out there and let's see how much they're willing to destroy, what they're trying to do. And, you know, the race war, they've been baiting that forever anyway. You know, I mean, that's the easiest thing to get tribalism to work with people, because you know, we're naturally biologically driven to tribalism. And this is, you know, when people are, you're racist, you know, everybody's racist. We all have this tribalistic in-group attitude, and it is part of our nature, and there's nothing wrong with it. But they're pushing the issue. This is why I will not listen to mainstream media, because they are provoking the violence and stoking the fire like crazy. So where do we end up from here? I don't know. You know, and I mean, you know, anybody that's got a set of balls, you know, male or female, that isn't fed up with this shit is getting armed, you know, and ready to put a bullet into somebody, anybody, you know, that comes off in the wrong way, threatening or whatever else. Now, you know, I don't know if this is all orchestrated. I deeply suspect that it was, but you know, that's not inside information that I have. You know, all I can do is see what's going on, and that there's certainly something wrong here, and it's taking a heavy toll on people, and I do believe it's making us more docile, because it's just taking the fight out of us. You know,
Yeah.
the young people out there rioting and everything, and you know, want to belong to something, whether it's Antifa, BLM, or white supremacists. Well, they're not, I don't even think they're involved. But anyway, whatever these groups are, people want to belong. They want to have a cause. You know, they want to have something to fight for. They need to get that energy out. They're not looking at the bigger picture, that they're being played. And this is why, you know, on the internet, they're called useful idiots, which we know that that's how that system works. We were told, I forget the guy's name, the Russian uh, spy from years ago,
Yeah,
that
I
said,
saw
you
that
know,
video this morning.
Oh
yeah,
yeah, Yuri Bezmenov.
there you go. That's it. Sorry,
Yeah,
I'm really lousy with names. But he said that this way back in the 70s, early 70s, you know.
Yeah.
So this is something that's actually happening. And, you know, of course, the young kids that are all wound up and everything and going out there and, you know, whatever cause that they're fighting for at the moment, which, you know, I've seen the causes ever since the Vietnam War. You know, there's always got to be a cause. It's always got to be the stirring it up thing. And it changes society. And I don't think any of them, when you look back, well, in my case, to the Vietnam War protests and everything else, it has never changed society for the better. You know, it's always let other alternate groups come in and take control. During the hippie days and the Vietnam protests, feminists took over like crazy. You know, well, didn't see that one coming, but it did. You know, and looking back, you can see it. But yeah, what's the end game here? This is my big question, and so many people are feeling like we're feeling, especially you know, as you get older. Uh, you just don't have that fight left in you. You don't want to be part of any group. You don't want to take a side. You know, um, it's just between politics, the rhetoric out there, the man, it just gets so much, you know. And yeah, okay, vaccinations, the end game, vaccinations and tracking. Sure, you know, well, we're already being tracked. You know, if you have a what we Messenger and I talked about it earlier. You know, if you have a smartphone, you're being tracked already. You know, don't fool yourself. You know, I've been through this shit. I play with computers quite a lot, and believe me, I can prove where you're being tracked and things about you are known. And these idiots that buy these goddamn what do you call these stupid things that you talk to in your house? The
Alexa.
Alexa, yeah, Alexa, and all that kind of crap, or these home security systems that are, constantly monitored, and you can look in your phone. And do you honestly think that that is between you and that unit alone? You have got to be out of your goddamn mind. But the younger crowd that is used to the technology think, oh, that's pretty normal. Well, here we go. The new normal. What does that actually mean? The new normal. Is that the new control? There's no normal out there, period, whether new or old. None of this is going to work out well. And, I don't know. I'm just too old to have the fight left in me. I'm not going to hit the streets. I'm not going to go out there unless somebody comes to my door and starts shit. Nah, there won't be any shit from me. But if I were back in my 20s, you could bet your goddamn ass I'd be out there kicking some ass, and not taking any names. But that's not me anymore. So I'm an observer and wondering what the fuck, but thinking on the other hand, I'm glad I'm kind of old and there's not much time left. So there's not a whole lot they can do to me, and I'll probably be dead before this is all over. And that's a sorry ass way to look at shit, instead of enjoying retirement and old age, you're in a constant state of flux and anger and disbelief.
Yeah.
That's pretty much how I'm at, yeah.
That's right, what you were saying earlier, Element, about just very quickly about preparing yourself, being prepared for these lockdowns, because if you want to look at this, if it is planned, the pandemic, encouraging people to go out on the streets and riot and protest and have these mass gatherings is a perfect excuse, virus or no virus, to blame people for the second spike and lock us down again. And they keep bringing up September as the month when there's going to be a second phase. Boris Johnson, our prime minister, used the term second phase, and I thought, phase, it sounds like someone's got this written down on a piece of paper somewhere. Second phase coming in September when we lock you all down again. We just need to get people out on the streets, create a race war. There you go, a few riots. Look at you silly fuckers, now we're going to have to lock you down again. And if they do that, and I'm sort of 90% sure that we are going to get locked down again when the second spike of this fake virus comes in, we're going to be in this situation again. And I want to be ready. I want to be prepared. I want to have a long-term plan which is achievable. I want to be secure. I don't want to get caught off guard. I mean, luckily, this time when it happened, I thought, my life is no different. Food in the cupboards, money in the bank, somewhere to live, new car. What do I need? Nothing. I'll just sit here like I always do, like I've been doing for the last fucking 6 or 7 years. But I was just bored of this, and I wanted to move and just shake my life up a bit. But it's not, if I can't do that and I have to sit here for another year or another 2 years, I'm not in a bad position. I'm not going to be homeless. But yeah, I think there is definitely a second wave of the fake virus coming. Definitely more restrictions, mask wearing, can't go into certain establishments or buy your groceries or shit like that. A lot of it's already been implemented. You need to wear a mask or you need to be a certain temperature and all that bollocks. It's going to make things infinitely harder. But we got to expect that.
Mm-hmm.
Look at all the shit they've been feeding us, Grocery stores are going to be running out of food, yet farmers and ranchers and everything else are killing animals and grinding them up into, mulch. Food isn't getting out there. Even beer. I heard they had to dump, I don't know how many millions gallons of beer because nobody was drinking it. But food and everything else. So, okay, why are we running out of food if they're slaughtering because they have too much? They were throwing milk away,
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? But the prices kept going up at the supermarket for some reason.
They want to patent their own versions of meat and vegetables. It's going to be like synthesized meat products, which only they are allowed to make, and farmers will be made obsolete, and hybrid vegetables, which are patented and nobody else can grow or sell or distribute to market. And there's lots of things you could sort of say are bordering on conspiracy theory, but after recent events, nothing surprises me anymore. If someone told you last year, oh, there's going to be a fake virus and they're going to manage to lock the entire planet down and everyone's going to be held under some invisible fear-based house arrest, you'd go, fuck that, I'm not staying in. And then when you realize that most people bought it, so the fact that you don't buy it and you want to go out doesn't matter because everything's shut. And there's big fucking queues everywhere and big plastic sheets and tape on the floor and people spraying you with alcohol, and it's like, what the fuck is this? And now nothing surprises me. So whatever's going to happen a year, 2 years from now, I'll just look and say, well, yeah, I believe it.
I think that's why they like you were saying, the new normal. I think that's why they started requiring all these masks and all this stuff, is because they're trying to get people used to the fact that when they pull this crap again later on this year, that they'll be like, oh, okay, whatever.
Yeah, and they'll have a box of masks in the cupboard, won't they? Because it's like, normal.
Yeah. I was going to say something, but I forgot what it was. It had to do with that. But yeah, I think, they're probably going to pull it again. And people see, oh, that was what I was going to say. You see people out right now partying and going to the beach and everything. And it's just like, you should be preparing right now, because you know what your people are going to do? You're going to go rush to the store because they're going to tell you that everything's going out of stock, and it's going to be like this all over again, except worse. And so that's why I'm taking the initiative right now. And I'm saying, all right, even if it doesn't happen or whatever, I really don't care, but I'm going to jump on this right quick. And that's why I'm, taking the time to work hard right now so that I can get some things that I need to get so that I don't have to deal with the general public.
Yeah.
I'm kind of always thinking about movies of the past, and what's the one with Sylvester Stallone and that black guy? I can't remember. What?
Wesley Snipes.
Wesley Snipes, yeah. And the underground there, where he gets the rat burger. Remember, he gets, and he asks, he says, meat, and the other two cops, they're the indoctrinated police. They're like, we don't eat meat and this and that and the other. And he says, well, what is this? And she says, it's ratto, or rattan. And, oh, rat. And he takes another bite and says, hey, pretty good, that somehow seems to me like is where we're going to.
Yeah.
The Demolition Man.
That's it.
Demolition Man, right.
He gets a fine on the street. There's a swearing machine, and every time he says fuck or shit, the ticket comes out saying $20. And it just seems like that everywhere now. Everything you do is like something comes through the fucking post and says, oh, conditional fine, pay it now, £60. If you don't, it'll be £120 in fucking 2 weeks' time. You're like, oh, fuck, I better pay it, or someone's going to knock on the door. And you think, for fuck's sake, you can't fucking go outside without someone putting their hand in your bank account.
Well, look how we're being censored on the internet. with language or anything that, is a wrong think. Your opinion doesn't matter. So we're heading in that direction. That's why I keep thinking that my God, that's not that far off, and call it a conspiracy, but nah, I don't see it. I see more underground things happening. People that are going to say, look, we're not going to shut down, but we're going to meet, in this particular place. We're going to have a good time. Nobody's going to know about it except the people involved, and anybody that rats you out or whatever is going to get their clock cleaned, to put it lightly. And there we go. I mean, we're real close to that shit, of where you can't have an opinion. And Dr. what was his name, Cocteau or whatever, that motherfucker. I mean, this is what we're going to have ruling us. And I don't know. I mean, it's a sad way to live, but it makes life safer, and everybody wants to be so safe, and they're willing to take the control to be a little bit safer.
That really surprised me. When people were so easily controlled by fear of an invisible virus, you sort of had to pinch yourself and say, they're actually doing it. They're actually like avoiding other people and standing 2 meters apart. And fuck, there's people with masks on. And I thought, they believe this shit. The stats are saying that the deaths are being recorded of people dying with coronavirus symptoms, not of coronavirus. They had pre-morbid conditions like cancer or heart disease, or they were elderly and frail. And it's like suddenly every death certificate was of coronavirus. So the stats were fake, and the mortality rates were like less than seasonal flu. And you think, why are you locking us all down? If it's only a few vulnerable people, just put them in isolation like you would anyway. But people still are. That's what gets me. And and it's like the brown shirts where they sort of report on their neighbors and say, oh, by the way, my neighbor had their friends round and there was more than 6 of them. And, they're reporting on each other as well. So, yeah, people's minds are being controlled, and some of them like it because it's like they get to be a public informant for the fucking WHO or the local government or the council or whatever. And it's like the social credit system in China. You get people going around writing down your wrongdoings in a little book, and the next thing you know, you're not allowed on a fucking bus. It's insane.
Yeah. Well,
get ready.
Yeah.
We already have the social credit thing going on in the U.S. I looked up a site, and this was probably about a year ago, where I looked myself up and everything else, and they gave you a score, as to your past and everything else. And that was just like a social standing, and the only thing they haven't done that China did is back it up by hurting your ability to live a normal life. In other words, your social score is under this number. Well, you can't take public transportation, you can't fly anywhere, you can't leave, and at worst case, we'll lock your bank account down. They haven't gone to that point in this country, but they've certainly got everybody under a social score here. I mean, that's already out there. So, and I even noticed, I looked up my wife at the same time, and at the time, she was a registered Democrat, and so was I back when, but she died, so she never obviously, re-registered or anything else. They obviously didn't have any information that she did die, and yet I was a Republican. I changed over, so I'd rather be an independent, to tell you the truth, but local voting, I need to be something. So anyway, I looked her up, and her score was higher than mine, and she'd already been dead 4 years. Explain that to me.
Yeah.
You know, and that was political affiliation, and that was, like I said, that was about a year ago or maybe more that I looked this shit up. You know, my life, I think, yeah, Greg, I think you're right. My life was the one I looked it up on. It does have a social credit score. People need to be aware of this shit, man. If you live here, and I don't know if it goes in different countries, but definitely in America, you know, they've got a social credit score going on you. We're not that far behind China. Trust me.
Yeah.
And it's unbelievable. Man, thinking back to the 70s and the shit that the way we used to live and what we did and everything else, my God, what a different world. It isn't even the same world. It's like an alternate universe that we're in now.
We're feeling the pinch a little bit. But we did prepare well. We can't say we preempted it or we knew it was coming, but we did manage to prepare well just by coincidence because the way we live.
Right. Yep. But, me too.
Yeah. You know, in 8 days' time, it's going to be there's going to be law that we have to wear masks on trains in England, or you'll be fined or you'll be refused the service. But I think it was only a few days ago, and this is 1984 shit. The thing about going to other people's houses meant that it became a criminal offense for anyone who was in a relationship. Obviously, it doesn't affect us, but it takes away people's basic human freedoms. Anyone who is in a relationship to go to a different house to have intimate sexual contact with another person. It was a criminal offense to go to another house and have sex with someone. Now, if that isn't straight out of 1984, I don't know what is. I mean, you could be arrested and charged with the criminal offense of going to someone else's house for the purpose of having sex with them. And they did it. They made it a criminal offense. So yeah, 1984. Not that it affects us, but it does affect me, because it affects me that it's so fucking scary that they can bring in these laws which take away our basic human freedoms. Traveling on public transport, you know, you're told that you have to wear a mask, which means that you have to inhale, you know, everything you've been breathing out, which is it's not healthy. You know, even the WHO said, you know, it's not advisable to wear a mask all the time. You know, these expellents you breathe out, you breathe them out for a reason. But you know, they want us to wear a mask. They want us to damage our own health, wear a fucking mask on the train, and if we don't, if we refuse, we'll be fined. Fuck, we're being told what to wear. We're being told where to go. Next, they'll be saying what you can and can't eat, or they'll somehow make that happen by what's available and what's unavailable, which they're working on, evidently. That stuff, when you think about it, pisses you off. It pisses you off that we're not even laying down. It's just unraveling very quickly in front of our own eyes, and fuck, that troubled me. You know, the last few weeks I've just been sort of every morning waking up and going, yeah, this is real. This is real. Even going to get a fucking packet of biscuits, you know, I'm like, what's this fucking big queue? It's because everyone's standing so fucking far apart, you can only get 4 people in the shop. Yeah. And I was like, fuck the biscuits, I won't have any. You know, I'll make some fucking toast.
You know, if you don't think people are sneaking around having sex
Yeah.
They're delusional. I mean, they're not going to end that. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
they can make all the laws they fucking want, but you're not going to stop an animal instinct like having sex.
Well, look at the politicians. You know, a couple of them have been caught out. One was having an affair, and he got caught. I can't remember his name, but he was sneaked around someone's wife's house and give her a quick scene to, and I think
scene too.
I think the neighbours grassed him up and said, "Hey, you're that politician, aren't you? What are you doing around here?" And next thing you know, he was in the newspapers for breaking the rules of lockdown.
I saw that. I know what you're talking about.
That's because they know it's all a scam.
Yeah, exactly.
They know it's all a scam. That's why most of the police aren't wearing masks. And when a lot of people called them out on it, you know, that, well, you're not social distancing, you know, you're getting right in people's faces, you're not wearing a mask, because they knew it was a scam. And now all of a sudden they got masks on, right? But now we're at the end of it. But before, when it was supposed to be really bad, they weren't wearing any masks. And all the politicians. And did you see that that one? What was it? Press conference that Trump did, right? All the reporters sitting there, you know, and they've all got masks on. And after the press conference was over, they all stand up, but they didn't know the camera was still running. And every one of them took their masks off and then started talking face to face and everything. It's like, ooh, what a big mistake that was, you know? Like,
but they don't give a fuck. In the end, they look and they say, yeah, it's fucking blatantly obvious it's all a scam, but look at all these sheep still, still buying it, still falling for it. And unfortunately, as much as I would like to say, fuck it, I'm just going to go out and live my life, the restrictions that have been put in place they're putting up obstacles. You know, certain places we can't go and certain things we can't do now because of it, and that's why they don't give a fuck. I suppose they only need half of the population to be compliant, and there you go. It locks everyone else down as a consequence. What can we do?
I think the first initial thing with this virus that came down, I think it was like you were saying, they had, they're talking about how these different phases. I think the first phase was like a test run to see how well the public would react to certain things.
Yeah.
And maybe to fine tweak a few things and run a scenario for, the second time they do it, which is going to be what they're doing right now to set everything up with this contract tracing and all this to get it in place so that when they do pull the trigger for real or, whatever, they're more prepared. So I think the first initial run of this was to see how the public reacted and how they were going to take it, and where they would need to adjust some things for the next run of this operation that they're doing. I think that's the main thing. That's why they're lifting restrictions in some areas, because they said, okay, well, we kind of got the data that we need. Let's go work it back. Because if it was the real thing, then they would keep it like this, I believe, because that's the ultimate goal, is they want to keep things like this indefinitely forever. Here they're opening stuff up, but I'm like, I'm not buying this, because I know this is not how it's going to be. So I think that was what it was about. I think they were running a test, and then everybody's saying around September time, they're going to do it again. So expect somewhere around September, they're going to start doing it again. And so let's get ready for that.
They'll definitely do it here before the election in America, because they want Trump out at all cost.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, and I'm not talking about the rest of the world or whatever. They might follow suit because it's a good time to do it. And a lot of other countries want Trump out too. China, for one, definitely wants him out. And I think he got hoodwinked too by this Dr. Fauci and Birx. They couldn't make up their mind. 1 week, you got to wear a mask. The next week, no, you're going to get sicker if you wear one. Then it's back to wearing them. And, Fauci was in with the WHO anyway. And I mean, I really don't, it's hard not to get involved in this shit, and I hate to do this on the stream because I know YouTube's going to be like, uh-oh, they're talking about this stuff, let's shut them down. So this whole stream might go away, after we're done. But I don't care. This is just, I mean, it's so goddamn obvious what they're doing. And, people are so blind that, I don't know, man. My faith in humanity has definitely suffered. Let's put it that way.
we had a thing here, the NHS, the National Health Service. They set them up as heroes and whatever. At the beginning of the lockdown, they had this thing. I think it was every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Everyone had to go outside and clap in the fucking street for the NHS. And I was like, what? Well, I don't give a fuck about any of that. This is a lie. The stats don't add up. It's not some lethal fucking virus that's going to wipe out millions of people. But people were outside and I could hear them banging their fucking pots and pans with wooden spoons and clapping and cheering. And I was looking at them thinking, you are a bunch of fucking idiots. Honestly, the ridiculous spectacle. You look at these people and you think, fuck, if they told you to run outside naked from the waist down, fucking slap your ass with a ping pong paddle in support of the NHS, most of these people would have done it. They were like seals out there banging pots and pans and clapping at nobody in the street. It was the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. And that's when I realized people will just do anything they're told. They didn't even, there wasn't even a good reason for it. And if you didn't do it, more to the point, people would shame you. People would look down on you and say, oh, you didn't go out at 8 o'clock on Thursday night and bang your pots and pans with the rest of us. And you're like, fucking hell, you're ganging up on me because I'm not stupid. And they will. That mentality where they've got people reporting on other people and turning against other people, families as well. I mean, I won't get too into it, but I did say to my daughter, look, don't speak to your granddad for a while. He's one of them. He's been reporting his neighbors for having their friends round for a cup of tea. And, I said, so watch what you say to him. And then I thought, oh my God, what the fuck is this? I'm having to warn my child to be careful what she says to her granddad, just in case he says something and reports us for, I don't know, going for a fucking 2-hour walk. The whole thing just became so bizarre.
God, really, it's not Nazi Germany all over again, really.
Mm.
I mean, that's what everybody uses as a compass, if you will, for morality, calling everybody a Nazi, but then that's what society is turning into. It's a socialist communist world anymore. God damn. Look, I'm 100% German. I mean, I'm the real thing. My grandfather was in the Luftwaffe. And, my family goes back into the late 1400s. So you don't get any more German than me, and I know the routine. And, I heard a lot from the older folks back when I was a kid. And to tell you the truth, I don't think that Nazi Germany was as bad as what we're in now.
Yeah, this is getting worse.
Yeah.
This is going to get worse before it even, if it is ever going to get better, it's going to, well, I don't know where we're going, but I mean, the other morning I woke up and I was in such a good mood after a few days of that Anhedonia, like, oh, I'm flat, I'm just bored, whatever. Then I woke up and I was in such a good mood, and it was because it was all so fucking hilarious. It really was absurd. It was just the absurdity of the world and the way people are behaving, and I just couldn't help but smile and think, this is fucking a comedy. Yeah, it was just bizarre, you know. And my friend was sending me messages saying, "Oh, you know, you got to wear a mask on the train," and then we're sending messages saying, "Oh, okay, what mask are you going to wear?" And he sent a picture of like a big fucking dildo on a black PVC mask, and he said, "Oh, I'll wear this on a bus, and then I can push the bell when I get to my stop, you know, with the dick." And it was just, we were just cracking up laughing, because what else do you do? I suppose you got to that point where you think, well, you've got to laugh or you'll cry, you know, because it was just so ridiculous. It's just, I don't know. Yeah, but you know, it goes on. It goes on. Yeah, so I don't know.
I guess I don't know where the end game's going. You know, that's the big mystery here. It just I don't see where anything good can come out of this. Nothing at all. You know, it's just even if it were a globalist agenda, or you know, the Bilderberg Group, or agenda, what is it, 21?
Yeah,
or
20, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. You know, and I looked into that back when, but I can't. You know, I mean, I don't put a lot of crap in that. And we get a notice in here. Welcome to live chat. Remember, to guard your privacy and abide by our community guidelines. Oh, look, it's the brown shirts coming in here to remind us to behave. Don't you just love that? I mean, it's so apparent. They don't even hide it anymore. You know, they got to come right in here, and if they're paying attention to what we're saying, they're actually confirming everything we're saying. It's a confirmation.
Well, we had that conversation, didn't we? I said before the live stream, I said, let me check it's on the channel. And then the minute you click on it, it says, will you be swearing? Will you be talking about guns? In what relation to guns will you be having a conversation about hunting, about illegal fire? I mean, you're like, fucking hell, you want to know the ins and outs of everything. Will you be talking about sex? Will you be? Then in the end, I just ticked everything and said, yeah, we're going to be talking about sex, guns, we're going to be swearing. And they said, all right, it's not advertiser friendly. And I thought, well, who gives a fuck?
Sex, you know, guns, drugs, weapons, ammo, war, you name it, we're gonna go for it.
Yeah, you know, we're gonna say every conceivable swear word, because that's what men do.
What do you expect out of a guy named Warhorse?
Exactly.
I mean, love and peace and flowers and kisses. You know, go fuck yourself. You know, well, you're not going to get me to get on a knee. And like I said in the comment section of, I don't remember what video, but I'll take a knee to steady my aim. You know, and that went over really good, actually. You know, people were like, oh, all right, you know, that's all right. You know, good reason to take a knee is to steady your aim. And I'm sure YouTube didn't like that, you know. But what the fuck do you want from a guy like me? I mean, you know, they're not paying attention. And I'm sure they hate people like us anyway, you know, all of us. I mean, we can think for ourselves, and we know what they're doing. We're the biggest problem they have. It's just a good reason to kick us off. And you know what? Who gives a fuck? There's BitChute, there's DLive, there's, actually, MGTOW TV is another new, you know, platform to get on where you can post videos, and they don't have to be MGTOW. You know, there's other things that go on there. So there's a lot of other venues, and getting kicked off of YouTube, fuck that. You know, who cares? You know, those people hide my shit anyway. Even though my videos are basically what? Gardening, cooking, fixing shit, building stuff. You know, oh, yeah, I'm a real fucking problem here to these assholes.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, man. You
It
know,
doesn't
I'm
matter
not going to
anyway.
heal. I'm not going to heal. I'm not going to be a good dog. I'm not going to take a knee. And I'm certainly not going to play by your fucking rules. And if you don't like that, sure, kick me off. You know, you're already a goddamn publisher, so prove it. Prove it again. You know, you pissed off Trump with Twitter. Now he's got shit looking into it, which I doubt will go anywhere. And, you know, I mean, there's just too much money in opposition, but at least it's getting looked at. And until people have had enough of this crap, nothing will get done. So, yeah, kick me off. What the fuck? I don't care. You know, do it.
That's the good thing about our outlook. We don't care. It's like if this channel got taken down, all right, some videos I might have saved, I can put them up somewhere else or start a new channel. We were never about subs and any of that shit. If we can find 100 like-minded men, we can, you know, we can have a conversation, we can post some content, we can share our views and opinions with like-minded men, and that's all it was ever about anyway. If they think they're damaging us, you know, well, certainly not financially, and you know, and it's not the case that we rely on this for an income or any of that. I mean, we can do private hangouts. We can use, you know, you don't have to go online and do this sort of StreamYard stuff to YouTube.
No, you can do it on DLive.
Yeah. I mean,
DLive, that it doesn't censor at all. You know, that's the nice part about it, that we don't need them. And you know, I don't use Google. I don't, you know, I don't have Microsoft anymore. My operating systems are all Linux. You know, I've checked out, and YouTube is the only mainstream bullshit site that I'm on anymore. And all my videos are backed up on my computers, and I have a lot of computers. You know, I mean, I don't even need to back them up somewhere else or whatever. I've got them all here. So I don't give, they're not going to shut me down. You know, they unless they get into one of my 9 computers here, which I'm not shitting. Well, actually 8. Sorry, the other one's a cloud book. But anyway, that, you know, unless they can get in there and delete everything, which going through Linux, they're not going to be able to. I'm in good shape. I can put them all right on BitChute or whatever, any other place. So, and like you said, I've never been into it for the money. I've never e-begged. I've never asked anybody for anything. And even people have offered to help me out with certain things like my dog's surgery or whatever, you know, and I've refused that. And that's not why I'm here. And that's never why I started the channel. So, you know, what are you going to do to me? I mean, shit, you know. I don't know. It's just, you know, getting very frustrating with these people because they don't understand that they don't have the control that they think they have.
Yeah. They think we give a shit, you know, but I don't know. This online thing is sometimes this virtual world. We have to come here to speak to like-minded people because we've said it before. If you try and speak to some people out in the street, they think you're mad or they think you're dangerous or, you know, you're not right in the head. So that's one purpose it serves. You know, we have this group of like-minded men who we can have certain conversations with. Other than that, life for me, I speak to my dog more than I speak to anyone else.
Same here.
Yeah.
You got to.
Yeah,
you got to.
because they listen.
I get more intelligent responses from my dog than I do people out on the street. At least I can trust him.
Oh yeah.
He's got a gun somewhere too. Your dog. He's probably got a gun in his holster. He's ready to go.
Hell yeah! I gave him a shoulder holster.
He's got one of those.
He's carrying like Dirty Harry.
He's got a Desert Eagle.
Oh shit!
All right, we've been going for nearly 3 hours.
Oh boy!
Is there anything else
It's been a good time.
Yeah, yeah. Anything else you want to talk about? Any other issues or?
Nah, I think I've vented enough.
I just want to say one other thing. I think for people that, like you were saying, Messenger earlier today about the Anhedonia, I think, it's just we're in a unique situation here. We really are kind of having to make do with the best that we've got, especially with an understanding of things that most people don't have. And as a result of that, it's hard to live in a world full of idiots and no stimulation of any kind that we really need to, keep us going. It's tough. It's hard, and I think it's tough. But as long as we can continue to meet people that, people like us that are in the same situation in different ways, I mean, it's going to keep us. It's going to keep the morale going. But there might not be a cure to it, but there is. You just got to keep going and just live in our world that we need to make. And keep things going. And I think as long as we do that, we'll be okay. But it's tough. It's going to be tough, and there's just no easy way around it.
That's it. The veil has been lifted, and we can't be a cipher. We can't pretend that it doesn't exist, and we can't say, "Oh, I wish I'd never seen all of this," because we have. So the answer is, definitely not to go back, to the plantation and say, "Oh, fuck it, I give up. This is too hard. Let me go and eat steak and pump and dump and all of that sort of stuff," because we're well over that.
Supernova dust called Wolver's a boomer.
What's that?
He called said supernova dust that he was an awesome boomer. He's called the worst boomer.
I don't have a problem with being a boomer.
A boomer.
I mean, I am what I am.
A boomer. I guess that's because of
baby boomer, the baby boomer generation, because there was a baby boom after World War II. So boomer came out of baby boom generation, which I'm towards the end of it, actually, 1957. So I'm not an early boomer.
So you're a junior boomer.
Yeah, I guess. I don't feel too junior, but yeah, I guess.
They're quite funny. Some of these memes that come out, they're quite funny. I've been watching the Karen ones. They got that so fucking right. I'm glad someone pointed that out. These middle-aged women screaming and throwing massive tantrums in public, and as if it's like perfectly normal behavior. They're hilarious. If you want to see something that will make you laugh, look at some of these fucking grown women acting like fucking 5-year-old kids. It really is. I mean, these 10-15 minute videos, I've just been cracking up watching them and thinking, yes, Yeah,
I've seen them. They're Reddit posts. They're they're videos where the people read the Reddit posts, and it's all "I don't work here, lady," and it's all about Karens.
Yeah.
And I've never run into one personally because, I'm probably not the kind of guy that Karens want to fuck with. But, if they ever do, God help them because they fucked with the wrong guy.
I had a child with one. Fucking hell. Even she calls her mum a Karen. Says,
Yeah, right.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Insane.
Hey, bikers don't put up with Karens, no matter the age.
Yeah.
God bless you. At least you guys are trying to do something right. Get this shit out of here.
Yeah. All right. Well, should we wrap this one up?
Okay.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
It's been good. Thanks for everyone for listening and your comments. And
I want to say one last thing to Greg. Make sure, Greg, that if you're going to drive your Ferrari, that you should wear your seatbelt.
it's mandatory. If you don't wear a seatbelt, you get a fine. Okay, and no toilet paper for you.
Greg's got a lamp.
Oh, that hurt. No toilet paper? Oh, yeah. God.
That's the rules. Lockdown. Right. Later, people.
All right.